Yo, what is up, everybody? It is me, Sketch AV, here for Krash Season 8 Arceus Power Rankings. Post-draft, post-grace period, pre-week 1, pre-shenanigans with my co-host. We got Bash.
Yo, what's poppin'?
And we got Crypto.
What is good, everybody? I am fully clothed. No need to worry.
Thank you for confirming that real quick.
Yes, sir.
You were not fully clothed at all points during last power rankings, so glad that we have that confirmation, that update on your status.
Right.
So we got a lot to discuss on some of these teams this season. Lot to say. And
no kidding.
yeah, and like just to be perfectly clear, I sort of said this in my ridiculously long intro, but everything that we say is going to be based on post-draft and post-grace period, so we're not going to be taking anything like week 1 matches into account. We're not going to be talking about how good the coach themselves are or like that type of thing. It's just purely going to be based on the team, the mons that were drafted, how they work together, that type of thing.
Yeah, no, he's exactly right. If we have a personal vendetta against you, we'll try to like keep it out of the rankings and whatnot, and be as fair as
Yeah,
possible.
I mean, if it's someone like Bash, it's probably not gonna.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
What?
If he makes it out of the top like 15, it'll be surprising.
it'll be a miracle. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And also I should mention that all three of us made our own separate lists, and then those scores were averaged. So, yeah, this is like the accumulation of the 3 different lists. So, we can start with number 16, unless you guys had anything else you want to say.
I mean, no, number 16 is definitely a good way to start. It's the bottom of the list, so that's kind of the way this works.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point, Crypto. I'm afraid to ask you to start it after the way you started it last season.
Okay, so who wants to introduce last place?
Yo, me.
Yeah, let's jump into it. Take it away, Crypto.
Alright, I don't like to do this because you literally drafted my favorite Mon round 1, so I had so much faith for this team. But Tezzy, bro, what the fuck?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Sorry. Wait, should we cut that part?
Wait, are we not even reading off the team?
sorry.
No, dude, it's one take. Everything stays
Okay.
Everything stays in.
Alright, my bad. Alright, we'll pull the trigger back a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, dial it back.
Dude, they don't even know what the team is.
Bro, this is the most toxic power
Sketch.
rankings of all time.
Crypto.
Last place.
Sketch.
I'll take it. I'll take it from you. I'll take it from you. Crypto, go calm down for a second. I'll take it from you.
Oh, fuck.
But
I mean,
this
I
is
can
your
give it another shot.
this is your redemption arc if you want to introduce 16th place Crypto.
All right. Hopping into 16th place, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Diggersby God himself, A12. And listen, man, I love you, but like, sorry, that team is just 16th material, you know.
Oh my god.
Sorry, we got the. Hold on, let me pull up the doc real quick. I forgot what his team was. Hold on. Let's see here. Just remember, we all had him at 16, so it's a fair reason to say it, you know. First off, I mean, he started the team off wonderfully. Urshifu Dark, like, you can't go wrong with that guy. He's pretty strong.
Urshifu Dark? Wait,
What do you want me to call him?
Single Strike? What do you mean?
Urshifu muscular version? I don't know.
Just call him One Punch Man, it's fine.
Yeah, he got One Punch Man off the bat, so I mean that's a good start. Slowbro, goated Mon. Should I just go over all the Mons and then you guys like help me break it down? Because I'm
Go for it.
Yeah.
He's got Mega Chomp, beast of a Mon, Crobat, you know, wings that can fly. Volcanion, yeah, that shit's heat. Fairy, Pelipper, Arctozolt, Vanillux, Kingdra, Umbreon, and then yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that because his last Mon is Clang, as a Steel type. Well, yeah, Sketch.
Oh, thank you for that handoff. Okay, so I agree with Crypto. I feel like this team started off really strong. Also, I do want to say really quick because there's been a lot of laughter, and I do want to clarify that although our methods might be a little toxic, we're Just kidding. We just want to see the homies succeed. So this is not going to be about roasting each other, even though it might come across that way.
Let me say this real quick. 12 is a really good battler, and I do not look forward to playing them this season because I think I do. And like even with this team, like I could easily get 6-0. So like I'm taking like in that regard, like this man could completely whoop my ass. So
yeah. So as Crypto mentioned, this team landed at 16th on all 3 of our lists, and I think it's just because it has the most glaring holes in it. I'm kind of confused by the way it was drafted because I thought it started off looking like a really respectable balanced team with Urshifu, Mega Chomp, Slowbro. I thought it was a great start, and then I saw Pelipper, and I'm like, okay, interesting. We're going Rain, probably. We already have the Water type of Slowbro, but you know, that's fine. Then Volcanion is added, and then Kingdra, and I'm like, okay, well, we're already up to 4 Waters, which I think is a little excessive even on a Rain team personally, but that's just my approach to playing weather. But then we get Vanillux added in, and then Arctazol, and then now it's suddenly become a Hail team. And double weather is doable, but admittedly it's pretty hard to pull off. And in full honesty, I don't see this team being the one to pull it off. I think that it's a Rain team that doesn't have the best Rain threats, those being Zapdos, Mega Swampert, and Barraskewda, and then it has random Hail tacked on, which sort of feels like anti-synergy. I mean, I don't think you're going to bring both weathers at the same time. You might, but if you do, then you're going to have to sort of be walking on eggshells to pull it off. And I get the idea behind it because like Arctazol does pressure bulky waters and grass types, which normally gets in the way of Rain Sweepers, but at the same time, Hail also gets in the way of Rain Sweepers. So I don't know, it kind of just works against itself. But like, let's just for a second imagine that the weather on this team is interrupted, or you decide for whatever reason not to bring a weather setter, or your weather setter goes down. What you're left with is one of the slowest drafts in this season with a Crobat slapped on top of it. Because Crobat is literally the only mon that gets past base 100 speed. And it sort of feels like Crobat is only here for the speed, because you already have a flying type, and it's not like Crobat's known for its poison type offensive pressure or its ability to absorb T-spikes. So I don't know exactly what it's doing here besides just being a fast threat. Then you have the Fairy Dragon Steel core of Mega Garchomp, Clefairy, and Clang. And I don't even really want to acknowledge the Clang. Even Clefairy feels a little bit weird to me, which I know A12 said he's used Clefairy well before. And like, I don't think it's bad or anything, but what stuck out to me the most is that he said he got it because it was one of the best teleporters left, as if he didn't realize he has a Slowbro. Which, I don't know, that's neither here nor there.
He just wanted the core of the teleporters, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, I guess.
Clefairy is hella early though too.
There's no fire, water, grass core. There's a fire, water, 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 water core. I do think that maybe grabbing something like Ferrothorn would have been nice. You know, like it adds the defensive typing of grass, which can help out. It gives you spikes, it gives you a better stealth rocker than Mega Garchomp and Clefairy. I mean, not that those two are like particularly bad, but I don't think either of them always want to be running rocks. Umbreon feels out of place to me because like that, well, not that Umbreon feels out of place, it's a good clerical support mon, but that just makes me wonder why Clefairy's there even more than I already did. And then it's just another type redundancy in Umbreon on a team that's already really type redundant. This is a 12-mon roster with only 13 types, which is tied for the least amount of types in the league.
Hold on a second. I gotta take my shirt off real quick.
Huh?
Right. 1 second. Right back. Shirt's coming off.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Sketch. You're good.
All right,
Okay,
shirts
you're
off,
good,
shirts
you're
off.
good.
I do like the well, I'll let somebody else talk for a little bit. I feel like I've been talking way too long.
I want to point something out right now. The reason why he has Clefairy is because his only other stealth rocker is Mega Garchomp. That is the reason why he has Clefairy on his team, which is not a good thing anyway to begin with.
Mhm.
I will say also, I don't know, having Vanillux on the team with Omega Garchomp kind of feels a little bit weird because a lot of the electric types now get Weather Ball, right? And that's going to be taking full advantage of that if they get the Hail up. And Mega Garchomp's not a switch into electric types anymore, what it usually is because no hidden powers, right? And then I also put down in my notes that he doesn't have a grounded poison, and his team hates T-spikes. His
He
immunity
makes
to it.
hazards in general too. Like rocks, he has
Yeah.
5 months with the rocks. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's gonna struggle all season with hazards, especially with like the defensive core Slowbro and Umbreon. A lot of people are gonna want to bring T-spikes against that. So yeah.
I've been kind of like going off on a little bit. I do want to talk about some good things about it. Like I do feel like overall, like this is not a team that you're going to be able to switch into like at all.
Oh,
Like you can bring your bulky water or whatever, but he has way too much to overwhelm it. The combination of Urshifu and Garchomp are just incredible breakers. So there's a couple like semi-stall teams I would say in this league, and they're definitely not going to be able to hold their own against those guys. And then just he has amazing speed control in the sense of his weather, so in that sense it's nice. So I would say he definitely has some positive offense, but synergetically and defensively the team struggles a bit with the rest. Be my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, I actually had what you guys said pretty much word for word down in my notes. Just about like there are definitely good aspects to it. Mainly, like you said, in terms of breaking, because on top of the Urshifu and Garchomp, Volcanion in the rain is pretty insane.
Yeah.
Even Kingdra in the rain can break really well, and then Arctozolt in the hail with Bolt Beak is also really hard to switch in on. So I mean, I think that this is a team that can work. It's just gonna need, I personally think it needs a little bit of tweaking, and it could become really threatening.
I would also say that, I would also say that also the wall breaking rate. He also has a pretty good stall breaker in Crobat. In my opinion, I think it's a really good stall breaker at least. Not being able to be toxic and stuff like that, which might be a lot better for some of his bulk to win out at the end with Slowbro and Umbreon because they don't have to deal with all that bulky stall, I guess.
I feel that.
Yeah, agreed. We ready to move on to number 15?
Yeah, no, let's hop into it for sure.
Big bet. Bash, you want to take this one first?
So we got Mega Osh with the Indiana Hyperspacers with a team of Mew, Mega Medicham, Melmetal, Kyurem, Darmanitan, Diggersby, Swampert, Diancie, Galarian, Moltres, and Audino, whatever you want to call it that way. So
I
one
prefer
thing
Audino.
Audino? Okay, we're going to say Audino. Okay. One thing I will say, his breakers on the team are insane.
Oh, yeah.
Like Mega Medicham, Metal, Kyurem, Darm, and Diggersby.
All the mons you don't want to face.
Yeah, exactly. People don't have switch-ins to all of them. Like it's gonna be a pain in the ass to be able to deal with.
Yeah.
But again, I said last time, and the same applies to this one. There is no grounded poison, and he doesn't have a good way to deal with bulky psychics, which is something that Mega Medicham struggles with. So I feel like Galarian Moltres, like it's a really good mod, but I feel like it's not. I feel like this should have been like some other way to pressure bulky psychics if you want to make a Medicham team to succeed. So maybe something like a Ghost type or something like that could help. Yeah.
Very true. I wanted to point out that his only water resist is Kyurem, so if he played somebody like an A12, Kingdra in the rain, just Spec Surf would be a nightmare to deal with. It would kind of just mow over the whole part of his team for the most part.
Yeah.
It's because, Mega Osh does struggle with his speed tiers. His fastest mon is Mew and Mega Medicham at base 100, and then as far as like if the rain went up, then speed control's gone there. And that doesn't mean just A12's team. Like any water type in general, like a Scarf Water is really dangerous for him to deal with, or even like a Specs or Banded one or whatever. And yeah, that's something I kind of noticed. He struggles with that a bit.
Yeah, I would say not only does he struggle with offensive waters, but he also struggles with defensive waters, having no electric or no grass type. And having used Melmetal twice now, I will say that one of the most common answers to it is like a bulky water type to switch in on the double Iron Bash hit. So that's going to be a pretty big issue for this team, I think. But I gotta clear my throat for a second real quick. You feel me?
Sir.
What you got down there?
Saliva, I hope.
The
No,
world shall
I mean,
never know. I'll never reveal.
And out in week 2.
Splurge, is that you? Is that you? I can hear behind there, back there.
Whoa. Not surprised.
All right,
Okay,
back to being on topic from what has been the worst bit in this video.
Yes.
Okay, so has anybody talked about speed yet? Because I'm sure we all want to say something. Okay, yeah, this team is really slow. Yeah, the fastest thing one is Mew at base 100. I haven't gone through and like calculated average speed across the drafts, but if I had to guess, this would definitely be in contention for it. If not, definitely the slowest draft. And the thing is like, this could be a really crazy Trick Room team, because like, I think Audino is a really great Trick Room setter. I think Diancie is also really good, and even Mew, which isn't like super slow, but it does have like momentum with Trick Room, so you could go like Trick Room and then U-turn into something like Melmetal. The problem is that there's only one Trick Room threat, that being Melmetal. And then you could get by with something like Room Service on like Diggersby, or maybe even like Darmanitan, but like, I feel like he doesn't have a way to take advantage of the team's strong suit. I don't know if he actually drafted this to be a Trick Room team, or if that was just something that happened along the way. But yeah, I would have liked to see something else sort of below like base maybe 50 or 40.
Yeah. He's got a few viable Scarfers, I guess, which is nice for his speed at least, and Kyurem, Darmanitan, and Diggersby, I would say, for the most part. So he's definitely going to rely on one of those, I would say, most weeks, just to, you know, have good viable win cons. And I guess he does have options with setup Mew, and even like Rock Polish or Tricker and Diancie, kind of like you were mentioning. So there's a few options, and Agility, Moltres, like that.
I will say though, because I think this is something that needs to be mentioned, right?
Yeah.
He has mons like Darmanitan, Kyurem, and Galarian Moltres, but his only removal is Mew. Like,
oh yeah,
and like that's gonna be a problem. So that locks Mew into that like that role like every week if you want to bring like, because otherwise Scarf Darm's gonna die like all the like to rocks like so fast, and so is Kyurem's gonna have issues with that too. It's been Galarian Moltres as well, which is gonna be important for pressuring those bulky psychics that want to switch into the Mega Metachan. So Mew's gonna be put into that slot of a removal, which is gonna make it not as good as a first pick as it should be. Like, it's gonna like weigh that down a lot. It's gonna force Mew into a role that it doesn't want to be in.
I agree, and that also makes it extra concerning that, as you mentioned, he doesn't have a Toxic Spike Absorber, so that defog is going to be even more crucial. And then going back to what you just said about bulky psychics coming into stop Mega Metacham, he doesn't have a bug type or a ghost type, which means that Galarian Moltres is going to have to be working overtime for pressuring those bulky psychics. I personally think that he would benefit from having another way to deal with those, but yeah. I'm looking through my notes. The only other thing is like pretty much what I said, or what you just said about the hazard removal issue. I don't know. There's a lot of big issues here, I think.
no, definitely. But yeah, we can go ahead and hop into the next squad if you guys are ready.
Yeah, for sure. I will say the upside there is obviously like the insane breaking potential. Like, I initially had this a little bit higher on my list. I bumped it down because I felt like the issues that were there were a little bit too egregious to ignore. But there are definitely going to be weeks where an opponent just doesn't have a good switch in for like Melmetal or Darmanitan or something, and in those weeks he's gonna be able to just do whatever he wants and just click buttons. But ultimately, the flaws here are gonna hold him back more often than he's gonna want it to.
Right.
Also, also go ahead, Crypto. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, where he has so many good breakers, and like you were saying, like if a opponent doesn't have a good answer to one of them one week, then I could very much see him winning like a lot of 1-0 games just from trading and finally having like an end game like Scarf Kyurem just sweeping cleaning at the end or something like that. I could definitely see a lot of low differential victories.
Yeah.
He's able to play it well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So yeah, like you said, we'll go ahead and move on to number 14. That being.
Wait, one more thing. I just want to say, by the way, before we go on, I just want to say also like we all put Mega Osh as well. We're all in agreement in like the rankings as well for that.
15.
Yeah, and we will because we did this last time. I'll put all three of our lists at the end just so you can see how you did on each individual one. So yeah, if you've already heard your part and you want to skip to see exactly where you landed, you can see that. I mean, we already sort of told you where you landed, but yeah, that information will be there.
All right, we moving on to 14, boys.
Big 14. Yeah, so we got the Pittsburgh Reggie Steelers, coached by the GOAT Jimmy, and he's got a team of Deoxys Speed, Celesteela, Komodo, Mega Charizard Y, Snorlax, Bisharp, Blastoise, Venusaur, Mudsdale, Crustle, Lapras, and Pikachu. And I can take this one first unless somebody really wants to.
You're good, man. Go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to say up front that while there are issues with this team, I would not recommend that you switch anything. Just because I think it's really cool that you have Red's Heart Gold Soul Silver team. I think that's the most unique thing I've seen in a draft league. I'm not going to ask you to change a thing. I just want to point out the flaws here. So I know there are a lot of types that people consider to be optional in draft league. I personally don't think you need like a rock type. I think Crypto is kind of partial to like fire types. I don't think Fairy is one of those types that you can just go without, which kind of concerns me for this team.
Here goes my pants. All right, sorry.
No, I'm taking out. Sorry, I'm taking out my right sock. Give me a
Right
minute.
sock first. Okay,
right
okay.
sock,
Sock
right
first.
sock, right sock, right sock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pants are still on. Don't worry, guys.
We're good. We're good.
All right, continue. Also,
What is this
just want
bit?
to point out real quick that we all did put Jimmy at 14 as well. Nobody had their different opinion on that either. But yeah, go ahead, Sketch. You're good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Crypto.
No problem.
So you're just down to like underwear and socks, right? Okay. Anyway,
no, just you know.
He put the pants back on. We're missing a shirt and a right sock.
Oh, thank God. All right. So yeah, the lack of fairy type is a little bit concerning. The other big issue I notice is while Deoxys Speed is incredibly fast, obviously, outside of that, this is another really slow team, and this has one of the biggest speed gaps in the league from base 180 at Deoxys all the way down to Zard Y at 100. And that makes Deoxys the only mon to surpass the base 100 mark, which is a pretty big issue that we've already started talking about with other teams. What I will say though is that Venusaur can make up for this whenever it's in the sun, but considering the Sunsetter has to hold a Mega Stone and not Heat Rock, it's a temporary solution to this problem, which yeah, that could definitely become really problematic. The team's momentum is carried single-handedly by Flip Turn Blastoise. I mean, like, Deoxys does get teleport, but I don't think you're gonna want to run that and let it take hits like that. And then yeah, there's also Volt Switch Pikachu. Yeah, there's Volt Switch Pikachu, but yeah, I won't knock it.
Like for what it's worth.
Yeah. I guess while we're on the topic of Pikachu, the only clerical support on the team comes from Wish Pikachu, which, like, you know, clerical support isn't like crucial. I personally like to see it on a draft. But yeah, it's Wish Pikachu and Heal Bell Lapras. So it's not ideal. It could be better. I mean, some teams don't have any, and I mean, I guess in that department, this is doing a little bit better. I'll let one of you guys say some stuff though.
As far like I said, or like you said, having Red's team is really, really cool. And like if he like made playoffs or something and brought those 6 in like a game, that would be the most intimidating thing ever.
Finals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, but like this team overall, yeah, like you said, only having the removal with Blastoise for Charizard is highly questionable for sure, considering that is one of his best breakers on the team, and he's definitely going to need to set up a lot of in-game win cons for like Celesteela and Como and I guess like Blastoise and whatnot. It's a little concerning. Do like the fact that he has a lot of other good win cons, I would say. Or I'm sorry, I'm going off topic, but like I think he has a lot of good win cons in the fact that like set up Celesteela, he's got set up Como, Venusaur in the sun, for, you know, how many turns you can get out of it. He's got set up with Blastoise, set up with Crustle, Bisharp. So he's got a lot of different options there. So it kind of functions in a way similar to MegaArceus' team, where I could see him winning a lot of close differential games if he plays his cards right, because it's a very offensively oriented team.
Yeah, even Snorlax in the right matchup could be the win con too.
Oh, for sure. I'm interested to see with Snorlax because I know obviously this was a while ago, but it had the berry nerf, and I'm sure it's still a good mon, but I just feel like it's not nearly as good as it was. So I'm curious to see how it does.
Yeah, I've used it since then. I still think it's really solid for sure. I mean, it's obviously not as good as it was, but I definitely think it's still a really good addition to any team.
Yeah.
So something I want to point out is that like you drafted a Bisharp, but like the only extra hazards you have other than Stealth Rocks is Spike. So I feel like at least with a Bisharp, with like it's something to abuse the Define, right? Like Sticky Webs, right, or Toxic Spikes, I think would have been really appreciated on this team, especially since like I think something like those extra like things might help out like the team. You said like the whole problem with the speed gap, right, could be fixed. Like imagine Mega Charizard Y under webs, like that's terrifying. Like that's just something that like I feel like he could have like it's a little minor thing, but I think he could definitely fix for his team.
Yeah.
And then I also believe that like if you want to, I guess like something I wanted to mention, like to Crypto's point, Charizard, like if he plays it right, he could actually use Charizard as a remover. I personally would not, but if he plays it correctly, he could if he gets it in before rocks kind of thing, and then defogs away. But it's going to be a big struggle for him all season, I feel like.
Yeah, to that point, I got very frustrated while looking at this team, just because I was writing about how the only defogger is Charizard, and then I got like really strong deja vu for some reason, and I pulled up my notes from last season's PRs, and I saw that that was the case last season for him too, where it was just Mega Charizard and Beedrill, but somehow he's lost the Beedrill, and it's even worse than it was before. But there is Rapid Spin Blastoise, which is obviously going to be working overtime with the removal stuff. And then I do like Bisharp with the spike stacking. I mean, I do agree that you would benefit from the extra hazards like Bash said, but what I will point out on those same lines is that this team is also missing a ghost type, so you won't really be able to spin block. So like the hazard stack approach might be like a little bit annoying. You might not be able to use it as efficiently as you might want to, but that's all I really have to say. I do think Jimmy's one of the more creative coaches we have, and again, we can't really base these rankings on the coach, at least not in the first one, which is why overall I thought this was kind of one of the more weird looking teams, but I definitely think he'll be able to use it well. It just had to land a bit lower this time.
I definitely get that. I mean, there's a lot of solid teams this time around, so it's not like any of these teams are necessarily bad. It's just we had to rank them in order.
Yeah,
we thought at least. Yeah, no, I think overall it's like one of the more creative overall looking teams. Like we said, there's issues to it, but there's definitely some strength, and Jimmy is really good at using unique stuff, so it'll be fun to see.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess you know, Zay, unless anybody had anything else to say, we'll go to number 13. And I will say that this is where things start to switch a little bit. We were kind of unanimous on the bottom three, but moving forward, there's no longer any placements that we all agreed on. So I shake things up a little bit.
Sir.
So at 13th, we have Volume in the Arizona Dactyls. And I'll let Bash take this one. Bash, you got it.
Yes.
You got it.
You got this, buddy.
So Volume's team consists of Tornadus T, Zygarde 50, Aegislash, Tapu Lele, Tyranitar, Mienshao, Arcanine, Superior, and Alomola. And there's a couple things I wanted to talk about, which first off, I think every draft should have this, but a Grounded Poison, not going to be fun to deal with. Like T-Spikes throughout the season, that's definitely something that's going to come, and he's going to be prepared for that. And another thing I want to mention is Tyranitar is his own Stealth Walker. That's going to be also a pain, because if you want to bring Roxy, like, against, I mean, technically Tyranitar would be a pretty good against, what's his name, Jimmy, but something like that where you definitely want to bring rocks, Tyranitar is going to be forced to come, which is going to take away, and then that makes it easier for your opponent to prep for. also he does not have a lot of momentum at all, to be honest. So trying to get in these like big hitters is going to be very difficult for him, like Tapu Lele and like Aegislash. Like the really only form of momentum he has is Torntea, Mienshao, and then Arcanine. But I think like with a team with like such good big hitters, like wall breakers, I guess too, and some really good setup threats, I think you would want more momentum to try to get those mods in as well. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like there's going to be a lot of hard switch reads just due to the lack of momentum. You might have already mentioned this, I'm not sure, but like in addition to T-Tar being the only stealth rocker, it's also the only hazard setter at all, because there's no spikes or T-spikes or sticky web or anything to speak of. So if there's ever a week where you want to run like Choice Band or Dragon Dance, which I think it wants to run pretty often, chances are you're going to have absolutely no hazards up that game, which will make it harder for some of your sleepers to actually do what they want to do. I will say there are some really good things on this team that I do want to talk about. I think Zygarde, Aegislash, Tapu Lele is an insane Fairy Dragon Steel Core that won't really be easy to deal with for most people. It does have a shared ghost weakness in it, but I think Tyranitar sponges those hits really well. And then there's also like a really solid regen core between Torntea, Mienshao, and Alomomola, which I think has a really nice balance of bulk and offense in the core. And then I also really like Alomomola's ability to give wishes to Zygarde, Aegislash, and Tyranitar, especially. And so I feel like in that department, there's a lot of really nice synergy here, but the unfortunate thing is that this only has 13 types on the team, which, as I mentioned before, is tied for the least amount in any draft. So we're missing normal type, bug type, poison type, ice type, and electric. And
sorry, there goes my left sock. Left sock's off. Taking it off.
All right,
you got your smash.
Wait.
All right, Stick, you got your sketch.
It's getting a little cold right now.
The wind is breezing, boys. All right.
This is crazy.
All right, my bad, Sketch. You're good.
All right. And so, well, I think it's okay for a team to be missing out like on a couple typings. I do think that missing 5 is a really serious red flag. Which is to say that like I think that this team is just gonna have certain matchups where they're not gonna have a response to a certain mon because they simply don't have the type that can switch in on it. And I feel like that's gonna be something that you encounter really often, possibly even weekly, which is kind of problematic. But what do you think, Crypto?
No, as far as what you just said, or just the team overall?
Just the team overall.
Well, yeah, no, I personally really like his team. I like a lot of mons on his team. He only has 9 mons, which I don't love that part. I would always usually draft at least 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, that definitely lacks a lot of typings and whatnot. But he's got some really good mons in there. I think overall the first like 5 picks he has are just intimidating as hell. Like I don't see how he got those 5 on the same team. It just, to me, that kind of is crazy. And then he finished off the draft about as well as he could have with, while he's spending so much points with those early mons. Hazard wise, only having T-Tar there is kind of an issue in my opinion, because one good thing about having a nice regen core is I think you should abuse it by abusing it to what am I trying to say? You're going to want to switch a lot. So if you can force your opponent to play the long game, then having a lot of hazards on the field is going to be beneficial for you. So only having T-Tar there is one of the downfalls I would say about that. If you could add like T-Spikes or something to this team, it would be really good in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree for sure. I do think, and like I hate to suggest it just because of how scary those first few mons he has is, but I feel like he might honestly benefit from like breaking up his Fairy Dragon Steel Core and maybe just like getting some points back on something. Because like it's really solid, but I feel like it's so expensive considering he already had Torntea, which is like one of the more expensive mons that we allow. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that trio is like way too steep of a point investment for the team to like be super well rounded. It's gonna be really top heavy for sure.
I feel that. Definitely top heavy squad.
Well, honestly, maybe not top heavy, because I do think there's not like a bad team or like a bad mon on the team or anything like that. But like, I don't know. It's too expensive for it to be a well-rounded team, if that makes sense.
Oh, I get you. Definitely. It's got a lot of good win cons. I'll give it that too, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely can set up whatever he wants to in a lot of different games. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, Bashley?
I don't think so. I think you guys hit like everything I kind of wanted to mention, I guess. Yeah.
Cool.
Alrighty.
Right, gonna hop to the next one, I guess.
For sure. At number 12, we have Ill Kid and the Missouri Raikou. And Crypto, you can talk about this one first if you want.
Yeah, I got you. Ill Kid, I just want to go ahead and formally apologize for last season. You are not in 16th this time around, and I'm going to give you a great warm welcome. So, coming in at number 12, we got Ill Kid. Sketch already said that. I don't know why I said that.
Wait, he wasn't 16th last time.
No, it wasn't.
Was he not?
He was not.
No,
16.
the reason you don't even know what you're apologizing for. You need to apologize to him because you peed during his section.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Actually, I do kind of gotta go. Hold on one second.
Yo, Loki, I do too.
No, I'm kidding.
Wait, what?
All right, Ill Kid, I will not pee during your session this time. Okay, so Ill Kid's got the team consistent of Landorus Incarnate, the Sheer Force variant, if you guys weren't aware, Weavile, Deoxys Defense, the big fat one, Mega Aggron, Marina, Rotom Heat, Silvally, that guy, Braviary, Miss Magius, Appleton. Appleton looks, honestly, like, if I could eat a Pokemon, I might consider eating Appleton. Like, like in a non-sexual way, you know?
Nobody thought about it that way before he said that.
Oh, my bad. And then Hitmonlee and Arbok. Jabok. Yeah, but that's just...
You know, that's my shirt's coming off. My shirt's coming off after that.
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, take it off, boys. Okay. All right, let me get into this. First off, Ill Kid, I don't know what it is about those first two mons, Landorus Incarnate and Weavile, but they pair together so nicely, and I see it on so many different leagues. Just well done, bravo to you. Good job. And then after that you picked up some nice bulk on the squad of Mega Deoxys and
Whoa.
I meant to say Deoxys Defense and Mega Aggron. But I definitely would have loved to see a Wishpasser on this team. If there was a Wishpasser on this team, like, it would have connected so many different things together, which would have been really nice. I think you definitely filled a lot of holes with the squad. Do you know how many types he had sketched with your notes?
That would be 16.
Oh,
he's
wait.
only missing... shit.
Gotta take the pants. I gotta take the pants. Got
the pants? Okay.
the pants.
Is he missing Rock and
Bug.
No, Bug. Yeah, Bug. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest concern for me would be, like, doesn't have a solid Wishpasser. And then other than that, like, I honestly like this team. I don't know where I rank this. Let me look at my list real quick. I put this at... Okay.
You had him at 10th, it looks like.
And okay, yeah, I don't know. Anything from 10 and above, I must just have liked or whatever. But I guess the thing I would say is the team definitely is a little top heavy in a sense that, like, I think after Braviary, the bottom mons are a little harder to bring, especially Arbok. But maybe he can prove me wrong with that. Do you guys want to add anything? Because clearly I'm struggling with this team.
Yeah, I could talk a bit about this. So first off, I believe the only cleric he has is Miss Magius.
That's correct.
So that's kind of an issue when you have, like, something like a Deoxys Defense there that wants to be toxic pretty much all the time, and then a Mega Aggron that wants to be burnt all the time. So that's kind of an issue for them. And then as well, we got some other issues where the grounded poison is Arbok, and I know that Crypto loves saying it's so sexy, but, like, it's not a good mon on this team. I guess it doesn't, like, it's not the good grounded.
Not a good mon on any teams. Let's be honest real quick.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Sorry, that was toxic. My bad.
So, like, basically, right? Like, think about it. Like, how often are you gonna bring Arbok, and that means the rest of the times you might have to face T-Spikes. Like, I honestly won't, like, coming to this, like, if I play him, I don't know if I do. I completely forgot, but there's a good chance I just will not even care if Arbok comes or not. Like, it's not gonna do much against, and it's not really gonna fill that role of grounded poison. He's gonna expect a lot of T-Spikes, which is gonna suck for Deoxys Defense. a lot of his mons are also taunt bait. I would say, like on the more defensive side, I would say they're very. It's going to be a big problem with that. And then my personal opinion for Mega Aggron, I think it's to have a Wish Passer to make it the most effective, because it's going to appreciate that, because otherwise it doesn't get any reliable recovery other than Rest, or I guess Leech Seed from Appleton. But other than that, it's going to struggle to, it's going to get tripped down pretty fast, to be honest, especially if it's get burned and you have your only cleric is Miss Magius, which, how often are you going to bring Miss Magius, right? Like, and then my final note I want to talk about the team is that, like, the bottom half of the team, I feel like the last four months-ish, I would say, 4 months they could have been combined in roles, because, like, I feel like you just kind of, like, you got all these, like, really pretty good mons, I would say. But, like, at the bottom, you just felt like you wanted to fill some roles, and even then, like, I don't think they fill in the roles that, like, they're not going to come to the games, so I don't think there's a point for filling those roles with those mons, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start with a hot take that I feel like you guys might not agree with. I've made the same point last season, and I'm pretty sure Crypto disagreed pretty heavily, but I personally don't like the Lando Eye and Weavile start, just because, like, those are two really, really solid offensive mons. And, you know, Weavile's my favorite Pokemon, so bonus points for that. The only issue I have with it is, like, every time I see this pair drafted, I feel like the team runs into the same issue, which is that they rely on it so hard for all offensive capabilities. And, like, they are more than capable of carrying, like, a team offensively. Like, they do a lot in their matchups, but every now and then, like, you run into those matchups where Weavile gets shut down pretty hard. Not so much for Landorus. Like, there's not a lot of switch-ins for that thing. But, I don't know. Like, if you face, I believe, and again, we're not taking, like, week 1 into consideration, but this is in my notes that something like Mega Scizor shuts that thing down really well. So if you ever fought Mega Scizor, which I think he had to week 1, it's really hard for it to actually show up and do a whole lot. And then it becomes, like, particularly problematic for me because, like, they're both weak to priority, and so, like, most of the offensive pressure being forced to switch out if there's, like, Ice Shard or Mach Punch or Bullet Punch on the field is kind of concerning to me. And I realize, again, this is probably a hot take that, like, not everybody's going to agree with. That's just sort of how I look at it. I do think Primarina can do a lot of good offensive stuff too, but I do think that this team relies too much on those first two, because then you start getting into things like Hitmonlee and Braviary, which have their matchups but won't always want to show up. And so, I don't know. It's only, you know, like, between Lando and Weavile, them being the only two offensive threats that break base 100 speed too is a little bit of an issue for me as well. But yeah, that's my little rant on that. I don't think you should take that too seriously, because I think that's a preference thing more than anything. But what I will say is that, like, I think that this team is sort of, like, between what I just said about, like, the offensive mons and then what's already been said about, you know, the lack of cleric support for Mega Aggron and Deoxys, this team falls into, like, this really weird camp for me where it's like where it's not, like, super offensive or defensive, and it's in this really weird, like, gray area where it doesn't particularly succeed in either arena. Yeah, I don't know. All of that could be juiced. I don't know.
No, I like what you said for the most part. I'm so sorry. Could you go over kind of the Weavile Landers thing again? Just because I was like, I heard you say it and then I zoned out for some reason.
No, you're good. Basically, like, these are the only two offensive mons on his team that break base 100, and because of that, and just by design of his team, with, like, the only other offensive threats being, like, Primarina, Hitmonlee, and Braviary, and, like, I guess maybe Miss Magius some weeks, I feel like too much pressure is going to be placed on Landorus and Weavile to carry the offensive potential of this team. But I think Weavile especially has certain matchups where it doesn't want to show up. Like if you're facing something like an Infernape that's going to pressure it out a lot, or like a Mega Scizor, or like a regular Scizor, the fact that like that can get shut down by priority moves like Mach Punch and Bullet Punch, and Landers can get shut down by like Ice Shard, means that like the main offensive driving force of this team gets forced off the field sometimes, which, you know, it's like a matchup dependent thing, but I just personally am not a huge fan of that.
Oh, I get where you're coming from in that sense, and like it is, those two mons in particular are very priority like weak in those like, you know, Mach Punch and Ice Shard especially. So if they get shut down by that, I mean, I could see it being tough for them in a sense.
Yeah,
so that's a fair point. Yeah, no, I guess I just like the pairing of them just because they break for each other really well, and then, you know, Weavile takes care of like the grass boys for Landorus a bit, which is nice, and then kind of vice versa. Landorus is good for those steel types.
that's
that
definitely
Weavile
true.
makes trouble with a bit. Their type synergy is good, but yeah, in certain matchups it could be difficult for him. He might have to rely on his bulk for a bit more in certain matchups like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lando takes care of the fire types for Weavile too, which is pretty solid for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And as many times as you get Landorus in, like, you're going to be causing some major trouble because that thing is a menace for sure.
Yeah, I honestly, I like the Braviary addition, even though I sort of said it's not like gonna show up to every match. I do think having the added flying pressure, given Landorus's lack of flying coverage, was a smart move for sure. And you know, the Defiant ability paired with Deoxys' potential for spike stacking, I definitely think that's gonna be a very pivotal mon on this team. And although I haven't used Silvally since it got buffed or played it a whole lot, I've heard that it's like really, really threatening now that multi-attack is so much stronger. So, I mean, there are some good aspects of this team for sure. And the main issues I pointed out are just kind of like, from my perspective, like they honestly might not be a big deal for you. It's just something that I would personally not like.
Yeah, no. That is definitely a good point. Did you want anything to that, Bash?
Crypto, you're breathing very hard there. What's going on? What's going on over there?
I had to put my cat out of my room because it kept sneezing over and over and over, and it was disgusting. So yeah.
He's holding in his pee. It's just getting to be a little too much.
I quickly ran to the bathroom and then was out of breath, so that's why I'm breathing so hard.
That's why he claimed to have zoned out when I was explaining the Weavile Landorus thing. He was just running to the bathroom.
Had to let it out real quick. But anyways, you want to hop to this next squad here?
For sure. So at number 11, we got Hunter Z Infected and the Texan Trappers. Which, oh brother, I don't want to even talk about it.
I think Crypto should take charge of this since he's pretty much he usually uses this play style. So I would
yes. Hyper offense. All right, let's go ahead and get it. Hunter's got the team consisting of Clefable, Toxapex, Skarmory, Dugtrio, Reuniclus, Tangrowth. Yeah, you're kind of getting the idea. Mega Sableye, Licky Licky, Ditto, Quagsire, Stunfisk, and Altaria. Now, immediately getting into this team, you can see the breaking potential is just through the roof. Between Toxapex and Tangrowth, like, you're just not switching into this team. It's a bit impossible. But defensively, it does struggle a little bit just because it doesn't really have good synergy together. Mainly because this team lacks reliable recovery, only having Clefable, Toxapex, Skarmory, Tangrowth, Reuniclus, Mega Sableye, Licky Licky, Quagsire, and Altaria. Other than that, he's got some solid recovery, I would say. If you guys couldn't tell by now, I was just being sarcastic about this whole thing. But yeah.
That was just really so true, dude. Good point. I didn't even think about that.
Right. But yeah, he's got a stall team, and like, honestly, I see people try to build stall teams in Draft, and a lot of times they're always missing out on a key component. But I would say for the most part, he patched up pretty much would make a solid stall team. And in Draft, I don't think it's the best playstyle because you can counter it for sure, which is pretty easy to do with like specific. I mean, you bring stall breakers for stall, and if you're doing that in Draft, you're gonna be prepared for whatever he's gonna have every single week. But he does have good synergy together. Obviously, he was able to get the Scar. I think the first 3 mons in general are just hideous to go against, and he had Mega Sableye down there at the bottom, and an amazing regen core with Reuniclus and Tangrowth on top of that. And 2 unaware mons in Clefable and Quagsire. So, I mean, it has all the components it needs to be a good stall team. Obviously, speed isn't like a main priority with a team like this, but he does have Dugtrio over the 100 mark with 120 base speed. And then he has options for like Scarf Ditto, which is obviously very prominent as a mon anyways. And if he wants to, he has the setup potential with things like Clefable, Altaria, and even Skarmory with like Iron Defense and stuff as an option. And Sableye has options to Calm Mind.
Does
but yeah,
Skarm get body press now?
Skarm does get body press, yep.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So, I mean, it has... Yeah. Friendly.
So I want to kind of say that like, I think before the F free agents it actually was better than after, because during the grace period he actually made a free agent for dropping Avalugg and Turtonator for Stunfisk and Altaria, and I feel like Avalugg and Turtonator fit the team better, especially when you want to go more Stally. I think Avalugg would have been a lot better for that as well. And something I also want to know is that I feel like I don't know, because like I'm pretty sure originally he was definitely trying to get a Blissey or a Chansey, but those both of them got sniped in the same round, so he had to back it up with Licky Licky, which is kind of a nice fit. But what I really want to talk about was like Ditto. I think is a very good mon on this team. It kind of forces a lot more prep, and it's also a big thing with Stall is like, say like something like a mold breaker usually is something that can help try to get past all these mons, but like Ditto could just transform into it if he brings up like a setup mold breaker mon, right? Ditto forces the mons to not be able to set up or have to bring some way to, I guess, to counter that mon as well. So I think Ditto just kind of rounds out the team very well. Kind of fills in the little gaps in that, like in certain situations where say like a mon breaks through the stall team, right? That's something I wanted to point out, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, this was like a really difficult team for me to rank because like the criteria that I was sort of ranking teams on doesn't apply very well to a team like this because it's a very like off meta idea. Like stall teams are just inherently designed to block the normal things that would be taking place in the meta, so it's like a lot of what I was looking for, like in terms of like, I don't know, it's like, for example, like momentum, right? All you really have is like teleport Clefable, but that doesn't really matter because stall as a playstyle isn't based on controlling momentum, but rather like just sitting in and, you know, stalling. So it was kind of difficult. I had to think about it a little bit differently than all the other teams. Because, you know, there's some aspects like there's no offensive pressure, but like, of course, there's not really supposed to be. Something tells me, and I don't know, you know, we've been on this call for a little while now. I'm starting to recognize a pattern. So I feel like some clothes are about to be taken off by my co-hosts. But I do have to point out that this is another team that's tied for only 13 types, which is, as I mentioned,
a couple times,
the least.
Oh, definitely.
The least out of the least out of all the teams, but it doesn't matter as much for a team like this because again, like that off meta nature of it means that like, I don't know, like it's not like you missing out on a fighting type is going to make a big difference in like a stall strategy. And along those lines, most of the types that are missing here are offensive types like fighting, ice, fire, and then of course there's like bug and rock, which oftentimes are offensive, not always, but yeah, it's like those don't feel very crucial here. And so I don't know, I won't go on too long about this because I feel like you guys kind of covered most of the points I had to make here. Like Bash said, I think Ditto is such an important pickup for this team because one of the main ways you get past the stall is by setting up, and that's a giant deterrent to that because you can just get reverse swept for setting up against a team like this. I think Dugtrio is also really good, just being able to like, you know, sit there and stall them out and then eventually get Dugtrio on the field, pick off a kill, and then repeat the cycle. It's really annoying, but like Crypto said, stall breaker moves and stall breaker mons all together are definitely a thing, and if somebody has a good amount of those and is able to play the game patiently, I think that they should be able to check this team, and once that happens, there's not a whole lot that this team can do about that. So like, I feel like this team's either going to do terribly or disgustingly well, and I really can't tell yet, but all I know is that I'm glad I don't have to face it this season. I think that's going to save me a lot of time, and yeah.
I think whereas like this season we actually have like a lot of solid coaches overall. Hang around stall should be easier, just because a lot of like newer players, and this could be like stereotypical, but I feel like a lot of newer players would be very prone to losing to stall just because they give up super easily. When you definitely can have a lot of outs, you just have to play it patiently, like you're saying. And I think that's why this team's going to struggle a bit this season, is because I think we do have a lot of good coaches this time around who will definitely be able to shut it down for the most part.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, you guys ready to move on?
I am.
Yeah. It's a bit breezy though, bro. It's
Dude,
seriously.
I don't know why you guys planned this bit out while I was gone, but I'm here for it. So we did have a tie for 9th place, and I guess we'll go ahead and start with the boy Bash. Bash is one of the coaches tied for 9th, and if you want, you can talk about your team first, unless you prefer that we talk about it first.
I guess I could read out the team. I want to hear your thoughts before I talk about the team. But,
okay, yeah, that's fair. And you can say as much or as little as you want if you don't want to give away your tech and stuff like that.
Of course. So, New York Muse here. We got Rillaboom, Zapdos, Mega Gardevoir, Cinderace, Nidoqueen, Milotic, Registeel, Excelgor, Grafty, Drampus, Swoobat, and Charjabug.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's like mini cores, but I want to hear, I guess, Sketches and Crypto's thoughts before I go into more depth about it.
All right. Let me start off by saying one thing, and then I'll let you take over. I just want to say, yo, what's up, Basher Nation? We're once again out here with the New York Momentums, coming to you live with U-Turn Rillaboom, U-Turn Zapdos, Volt Switch Zapdos, Teleport Mega Gardevoir, U-Turn Cinderace, Flip Turn Milotic, U-Turn Excelgor, U-Turn Swoobat, and of course, Volt Switch Charjabug. Take it away, Crypto.
God damn, couldn't have said it any better. Bash is picking up the momentum like he does every single season. What a surprise. But no. I mean, we're getting to the teams now where I think like most teams are looking pretty solid at this point. We got to roast our boy Bash a little bit, but I would say personally, this is just my opinion. I think a lot of people would agree with me on this. I think this team just looks a little underwhelming, if I had to say so, as far as the first few picks. Just because I don't think Rillaboom was a round 1 pick. I know some people may disagree with that, some people might agree with it. I think that Rillaboom plus Zapdos is a good core to start off with, but I also think that Zapdos isn't the best like second pick of a draft either, unless it's like paired on Rain or something where it can utilize its offensive potential really well. But other than that, like, I mean, I think it's a very good like balanced squad, because I think breaking potential of things like Mega Gardevoir and Rillaboom really pair well with the synergy that he has with his bulk, with like things like Milotic and Registeel and defensive Nidoqueen and Zapdos and whatnot. So, and most of the mons on his team can function offensively or defensively, which is really solid, and he can go a lot of different ways with it. So I really appreciate that. I don't think there's any defining mons on the team that'll like go borderline crazy as far as kills. I think a lot of his mons will be like spread across the board. Maybe things like Mega Gardevoir and Zapdos will be towards the top or whatever. And he also does have webs. I like webs a lot on this squad because it helps things like Mega Gardevoir and Rillaboom really go off, which is nice. And I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of the bottom few picks, I guess, but maybe Bash can prove me wrong. I know he's really excited for his little buddy Swoobat this season, and Charjabug's always a staple for him, it seems like. And Grandpa, fuck that guy, he beat me in doubles with him, so he kind of, maybe Bash is like a Grandpa legend, who knows. But yeah, what do you have to add, Sketch? What would you say?
Yeah, I feel like you covered a lot of what I wanted to say. And sort of like you got to just in general for me, and it could have been the same for you guys too. This is the point in coming up with rankings where it got really, really difficult for me, and I spent like an hour just trying to figure out like the top 10. Because like I guess it's like the cliche, oh, it was so difficult making these decisions, but like genuinely I got stuck forever from this point onward. Like I sort of had in mind who the bottom 6 on my list would be, but like this is where it got very, very tough. But like Crypto, sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect you like that, Crypto.
God,
didn't want to insult you. I'm so sorry. Like Crypto said, I don't think Rillaboom is a round 1 worthy pick personally. I do know that going into the draft, you said you really want to test it out. I feel like you probably could have waited on it. And then I also agree, I don't think that Zapdos is not necessarily that it's not a good round 2, but that I don't think it's a great 17-pointer unless you have it on a rain team. But I do think you can still get to that 17-point value. It's just going to come down to how you use it. And I think more than a lot of other drafts, your team is going to be able to sort of control the momentum of prep, which I sort of talked to you like post-draft about this, but I'll recap it. By this I mean that like when you and your opponent sit down to prepare for a battle, your opponent's going to have to make sure that they have a switch in for Rillaboom, Mega Gardevoir, Nidoqueen, and even offensive Zapdos, because if they don't, then they're going to either get swept or get bullied the whole time. And like this is like, you know, a component that a lot of teams obviously have, but I feel like it's a little bit more prevalent with your team, which is really good, right? Like if they don't bring their Rillaboom switch in, that could just be game over. And so from that standpoint, if you were sitting there prepping, you're like, oh, okay, well, they're definitely going to bring this, and now I know how to prepare for it. Which I don't know. I think that's true for a lot of teams, but I think it's especially true on this one. Yeah, again, Zapdos, I think you might need to get a little creative some weeks if you want to get the full potential out of that. Because this is the, if I'm not mistaken, this is the highest point mon on your team. And I do think that it functions best in rain currently, which is why it's ranked so highly on our points, because, you know, if you have Zapdos on a rain team, then it's kind of just GG. But I'm not going to go into my rain in Gen 8 rant again. I think only 2 Stealth Rockers is a little bit underwhelming, but you do have a lot of other forms of hazards, which is really nice. And the 2 rockers that you have are really good, those being Reggie Steel and Nidoqueen. I don't think either of them have any issues running rocks most weeks. I will say the lack of a rapid spinner with all the hazard setting will be a little bit annoying for your hazard stacking approach. And while Zapdos is a great defogger, there's going to be weeks where it doesn't want to run it. And when that happens, you're left with Drampa or Swoobat as backup for defog. And I don't think that those are very good options. You do have a unique response to hazards, though, in the form of Core Change on Cinderace. And even if you don't run Core Change, the possibility of you running it will force your opponents to prep in a certain way. And that sort of goes back to what I was saying about like you controlling the scene of like the prepping phase. For all those hazards, you don't have a spin blocker, and that's kind of sad because I don't think you're going to be able to fully take advantage of it to the fullest potential. And yeah, I would say aside from a Selgor, which is often used as a suicide lead, and if you don't know what a suicide lead is, that means that you lead with it and then it kills itself in the process of using it. But
reference to season 7.
If outside of a Selgor, I do think that this team can be slightly slow, with like Cinderace and Swoobat being the only others to break base 100. And you know, this will come down to how many times you use Swoobat. But I do think, I don't know, it's not terrible, and I think Grassy Glide Rillaboom mitigates this issue a lot. So I mean, overall, I think that this is a really solid draft and very threatening, especially in the right matchup. But I do think that there's still a little bit of room for improvement. But overall, I think that this is a team that you'll be really comfortable with, and I think that's what's most important.
Yeah. Wait, just a clarification. Just want to make sure I heard this correctly. What was which monster did you say would be over base 100? Just because I think I zoned out for a second.
It's a Selgor, which is a suicide lead, and if you don't know what a suicide lead is, that means it kills itself. Then there's Cinderace and Swoobat.
Okay. I want to kind of go into, I guess, some things, but actually, so Rillaboom was actually going to go the next pick.
Really?
I found out afterwards. I sniped the person who was the next pick, which was BM News. He was actually going to get Rillaboom, so I'm kind of happy I ended up going with it that way, because I've really been trying to go for Rillaboom for a while, and originally I had a different plan instead of Zapdos in that spot, but I got sniped actually on the way back. But I kind of want to add to this Excelgor. Excelgor is not just Arceus. I think,
No,
okay?
it's not.
It is not. It is not. It does so much more. I have swept with Exogor before, like with setup Exogor. It can do a lot of different things, and I'm kind of excited for it because I have some ideas with what I want to use with it, but I'm not going to reveal it right now. But I'm pretty excited for it. I think it's gonna be the most underrated model on the team, I guess. And then I guess like sort of like building out some of this team, right? Some of the cores are I think the cores, they work really well together, but yeah, as you mentioned, there's no like outstanding, I guess like when you look on paper, it's not like there's like that, not that like the one mod that everybody's like, oh my gosh, like it's like an 18-pointer kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Zapdos obviously functions best in rain, even though like it could still do really well outside of rain, but obviously I would have loved to have it in rain, but that was not what I wanted to go with this season. But I think some of the mini cores that I have throughout the team are really going to help the team become like sort of underrated threat, I think, for late in the season. And I do have some surprise tech that I'm not going to go into, that I'm just going to say right now. I do have some fun little tech things I want to try out this season. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. If all set, we can go to the other team tied for 9th place. That being the San Diego Sandygast, coached by Toki. Taki? I don't know. I'm gonna go with Toki.
Yeah, Toki sounds good.
Sounds like Loki. Hey,
Hey, Loki, it's Toki.
Loki,
All right.
Toki in the cut. Wait, oh yeah. In the
Whoa. All right, I'm taking my left sock off. So Toki's team consists of Mega Diancie, Latias, Heatran, Hawlucha, Tapu Bulu, Seismitoad, Galarian Slowbro, Hitmontop, Escavalier, Jolteon, Flapple, and Guzzlord. And I can take this one first unless anybody is particularly passionate here.
I kind of want to. Okay, go ahead.
I was just wanting to mention, like, one of you guys can go first, but like, for some reason, Heatran, Tapu Bulu, and Seismitoad just hits home for me, so I really appreciate that from Toki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead.
Were you guys say something, Bash?
One thing before Sketch goes in on this, because I do want to talk. I'll talk more in detail later, but I think Grassy Terrain with Flapple could be kind of actually sick. Like that's actually cool to switch it into. But yeah, go ahead, Sketch. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I also made note of that for sure. So I think that this is quite possibly the team with the most synergy to it. He started off by grabbing one of the strongest Fairy Dragon Steel cores with Mega Diancie, Latias, and Heatran, and then this was followed up with the classic Bulutran core, which perfectly cover each other's weaknesses, as we all know at this point, I think. So the defensive core that's sort of formed here is already really solid in just those 5, I think. Then Hawlucha is added into the team to take advantage of the grassy terrain through Grassy Seed Unburdened sweeping. I think that's a very appropriate addition to a team like this. But then there's also just like really subtle synergistic elements that I like to see. Like Escavalier was added as a secondary steel type that actually shares no weaknesses with Heatran, that being the other steel type. And in fact, even though this is like a type redundancy, which I usually don't like, it actually has its only weakness of fire being covered by Heatran's Flash Fire, which is really nice. And then as Bash mentioned, Flapple is here to fire off Hustle boosted Grassy Terrain, boosted Grav Apples, which is one of the weirdest sleeper wall breakers in the league, I think. But it works really well on a team like this. And interestingly enough, Toki actually managed to form a second, albeit much weaker Fairy Dragon Steel core in Tapu Bulu, Flapple, Escavalier. But then of course there's like a monstrous Fire Water Grass core with Heatran, Bulu, and Seismitoad, as Crypto already mentioned. And then there's Latias passing wishes to all the mons that really appreciate it, like Heatran, Toad, and Escavalier. And so I feel like this operates like a really well-oiled machine, bringing out the best in each of the members and sort of helping maximize the potential of each mon here. There are some shortcomings, but I'll get to those later. I'll hear what you guys have to say first.
Go ahead, Bash, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess like the team feels very weird to me, but like there's a lot of cool things about it. Like I already mentioned, the whole like Flapple, Tapu Bulu core is kind of interesting that you, especially with the fact that he's a pretty good amount of switch into steals, I would say. But I also think that he's also going to struggle as well at the same time of breaking some steel types. Like Hawlucha is not going to come into end game, right? That's the whole point of it. It's going to set up at the end, so I don't really count that as like early game breaking, right? And D10 is probably his best way to deal with it, right? So I don't know. I feel like he might struggle with breaking some of the steel types. And then Guzzler being your only ghost resist is kind of interesting to me. Just because like a lot of ghosts are able to carry like D-Gleam or something like that, and so that makes it not really as switching at all. Like, oops, I pooped in the sink.
What?
What?
But let's move on.
Did you say you pooped in the sink? What?
Oh
We're gonna move on.
What?
We're gonna move
Bro,
on.
are you good? Oh my.
We're gonna move on.
Bro, there goes my right sock, bro.
It's just gone.
It just flew out the window.
Okay, so another thing I want to mention, like a really big thing, is that there's a huge ass speed gap from base 110 to 77. That's and a lot of mons are in between that range, so that's gonna allow them to run like all those like extra like adamant or modest or more bulk on their mons, which is gonna be a huge problem for them later on in the actual matches, I guess. So, and it's gonna make it a lot more difficult to switch into. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about for that. Yeah.
Fair enough, for sure. I personally, like, if you can pull it off like you were talking about earlier, Sketch, like, I personally love doubling up on types. I think it adds like a whole new element to team building for sure. And I think, like you were saying, he has a really cool synergy with the double Steel, Fairy, and Dragon Core. Definitely really cool. Yeah, that's pretty much all I was gonna add.
All right. Let me circle back to myself real quick then. Okay, so I think that there are really good stealth rockers in Heatran and Seismitoad, as well as Diancie if you want like a mix-up for a hazard setting. I don't think it always wants to, but it can because it's pretty fast and forces things off the field. But I do think that the hazard removal is less than desirable. Hawlucha is never going to run Defog, and Latios is not always going to want to run Defog either, because that really limits what kind of set is able to run that week. Which leaves a lot of pressure on Hitmontop to sort of show up and carry the hazard removal on his back. Obviously, Mega Diancie's Magic Bounce will be nice for that if you're using it correctly. But like, also, this is kind of weird. Like, I don't know if you guys have sort of noticed this in your experience. I have personally found Mega Diancie to be a hazard magnet because, like, I feel like people want to prove that they can still get hazards up in front of Mega Diancie, and so like I don't know, like I just feel like people always try to lead with something that will force Mega Diancie off the field just so they can be like, yeah, I clicked rocks in front of it. But like maybe that's just me. But yeah, I don't know. Again, that could be like another juiced sketch opinion.
I guess nah, I mean, I think it's fine. I guess the only thing I would add to that is like, if you're horny, let's do it. Ride it.
Whoa, what?
My saddle's waiting. Come and jump on it. Like, if you're horny, let's do it. Ride it. My pony, my saddle's waiting. Come and jump on it.
Is that a message to Toki?
No, that's the only thing I would change about his team.
Oh, okay. Got you. That makes a lot of sense now.
Sorry. Like, I'm done now.
So
It looks like we got Magic Mike in here.
Magic Mike in this bitch.
All right.
So yeah, Bash already mentioned Guzzlord being the ghost resist is kind of questionable. I also do think that with it being the dark type and Escavalier being the bug type, I can see this team struggling with bulky psychics, just because like the responses are kind of low and there's no ghost type on the team. But like, it's not terrible. It just might be kind of tough in certain matchups. There's the speed gap that Bash already mentioned. That's definitely an exploitable weakness. And I think that if this team loses its momentum in a match, it's gonna struggle to regain it because the only options for U-turn are Hawlucha, which I don't personally think will ever want to run it with most sets that it usually has, and then Flapple, which might run it, but it's a little bit questionable. There is Volt Switch Jolteon, but because it doesn't have HP Ice anymore, it might struggle with those ground type switch-ins. Although I will say that's another little bit of synergy I didn't really think about before, because ground types getting nerfed by grassy terrain might make it like a bad ring. So maybe Jolteon will be able to sort of do a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this team has a lot of promise to it, but these few issues bring it down a little bit.
To add one more thing into it, right? So another thing I want to mention is that I would say this team like doesn't switch into Scald plus Ice coverage, right? Like if you look down the line, like his team's very like doesn't have a good way of dealing with that.
Oh,
I know
Jimmy's Lapras.
Yeah, Jimmy's Lapras, but like even like in regular like water, most water types get ice coverage, right? Like that's gonna be I feel like he might struggle with, especially with his water type like not being resistant to ice, right? So and his steel type right is weak to water. It's gonna be a very difficult situation, especially with a lot of repetitive typings with 3 dragons on the team. That like ice coverage is gonna definitely come, and I just want like that's something that I wanted to really point out. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess we can go ahead and move on to number 8, which is the Amityville Ampharos, coached by Crypto.
That guy's ass.
Returning champion here. Want to go ahead and introduce your team?
Yeah, I got it for sure. I'm gonna make sure I say the right team because I made transactions, but I will go for obviously the post-draft one.
Yeah.
The team of Dragapult, Excadrill, Greninja, Volcarona, Togekiss, Amoonguss, Mega Tyranitar, and Gallade and Type Null. I believe are my 10 mons. Did I miss any of them? Because I'm looking at the wrong.
No, I think that's it.
Okay. No, I'll go ahead and let you guys attack it first. You can go for it.
All right.
Can I go first?
No, you got it. You got it.
Okay, first thing. What the fuck is Gallade doing on this team? Like, what is it doing?
Whoa.
Like, okay, like, hear me out.
Bash,
right?
we're rated
like,
PG-13.
13, Bash.
Yeah,
You get one, Bash. You get one.
We used it up. It's like this man literally. I don't know what he was doing. Was he like sucking down some dick cheese or something like that? I don't know.
Whoa! We're rated R now. Great, Bash.
but like literally, Gallade. Okay, Gallade doesn't make any sense. I feel like he needs an actual fighting type, right? That isn't weak to dark type.
That's a fighting type.
It needs a fighting type, not weak to dark, right?
That's justified.
I don't care, bro. I don't care, bro. Dude, it's not a switch-in, bro. It's not a switch-in to dark types. And Dragapult brings in dark types all the time, right? And I would also say I think you're having a more reliable fighting type, to be able to deal with the bulky normal types that are also going to switch into Dragapult would be really nice as well. That's just the first thing I want to talk about. The second thing is that I think you're going to have a very difficult time pressuring bulky waters. Like if you look down on the list, right? Like your only way to hit, like the only, I guess, mon that really like checks it, right, is Amoonguss. But Amoonguss is so weak, right? It's so weak, and it can't hit like those bulky waters for anything. Like I would still say like some of the bulky waters like Suicune can 1v1 Amoonguss in my opinion, like 100%. And that is something that's like I think Crypto is gonna struggle with. Then I would also want to point out, just because I want to be a little bit harsher on Crypto.
Yeah, this is kind of toxic, bro.
I'm start crying.
One thing I personally believe in, and something I probably should have also mentioned in Jimmy's draft, but the mega that is the weather setter is gonna is not usually what I usually want for like our main offense, I guess. Like Excadrill was like a big part, like I think, of his team, and it's going to be difficult because it's not getting many Sandhursts. I will say though, like Excadrill does have other ways to set up and speed as well with Rapidsyn, which is something really good. I think Excadrill is a really good pick. It's just I think just sand wise, right? It's not gonna be able to do like what it usually does with like say like a Gigalith or a regular Tyranitar, right? And then yeah, and then one last thing for bad, I can talk about the good stuff too because your team is very scary. But one bad thing is I would think that Togekiss is gonna have to come like almost every week, at least with the team you have now. I'm not talking about post transactions because you all know you did them, but Togekiss I feel like is so crucial to the team that it needs to come it's gonna have to come every week, at least with the team you have here. It fits too many roles. And it's a really good mon, but it's going to be forced to come every week, and it's going to be easy for opponents to predict it coming now every week. But some of the good things I will say, very scary team. Dragapult with Excadrill is actually like kind of an underrated pair. Because Dragapult's gonna bring in those bulky fairies all the time, and Excadrill pretty much comes in free for that. It gets a free U-turn, gets set up off of them, right? Like that's something that I want to keep aware of. And then I would say he also has some very good hazard setting, and I think he has some pretty good momentum and some speed tiers as well. So yeah. Guess you want to say something about Mordecai?
Yeah, for sure. First off, I loved you in regular show, man. Big fan. But
It's Saturday off so early.
no, I think that this team, I think it's slightly unconventional in some ways, but very threatening overall. Dragapult is obviously a monster. Everybody wants to ban it. I kind of disagree with that, but it's very good, obviously. And then I think Greninja is actually a really great mon to pair with it. Because in addition to sort of giving it some dark pressure for other ghost types that might want to check it offensively, it also gives you spikes, which makes sweeping with it a lot easier. And then it also provides toxic spikes, which is really nice for like Hex Dragapult sets to sort of overwhelm opponents. There's 3 really reliable Stealth Rockers in Excadrill, Mega Tyranitar, and Azelf. And I think that they're 3 very different types of Stealth Rockers, but they all have really good Stealth Rock sets, I will say, even if they might be different from each other. And I think that sets Dragapult up really nicely to sort of do what it does best. There's some really powerful threats you gotta watch out for, with Excadrill being a crazy wall breaker with sweeping potential, whether that be through like the Sand Rush from T-Tar, or if it's just by like rapid spin speed boosting. Then there's Volcarona, which now that it has heavy duty boots is a legitimately terrifying threat. It's a huge thing you gotta watch out for.
Oh wait, forgot to mention, sorry, side note, we actually banned heavy duty boots this season, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I cheated week 1.
But then there's also things like Nasty Plot Azelf and Dragon Dance T-Tar, which all kind of provide huge issues for people to deal with, and I think it would be really easy to overwhelm opponents with these kind of sets. And then you pair that with like some really annoying aspects like Serene Grace, Togekiss. You gotta watch out for Spore from Amoonguss, and then even the Eviolite type Null is just way too bulky to deal with sometimes. And I think that makes for a really well-rounded team. I think there's solid momentum through like U-turn Dragapult and Greninja and Azelf, as well as slow U-turn in type Null. And there's also even like U-turn Volcarona if you want to run that sometimes. I don't think that's usually its best set, but it's definitely an option. And then on top of this, I think that this is one of the better speed tier teams, running all the way from Dragapult at 142 down to Amoonguss at 30, with no major gaps to be seen aside from Amoonguss to type Null, which really isn't that bad. I don't think speed tier gaps are as terrible for lower speed mons, as long as you have something that's super low speed to counter Trick Room, and I think Amoonguss is really, really good for that. Like Bash said, I do think that the lack of an electric type makes bulky waters really annoying. I also had that in my notes, and I will say that while the hazard setting is pretty impressive, I'm not a huge fan of the removal. Excadrill is great, but it's definitely going to be forced to Rapid Spin, which it doesn't mind carrying Rapid Spin at all. But I just noticed that Togekiss doesn't really like to run Defog all the time, and Volcarona can now that it has boots, but I also don't think it's going to want to. So, you know, it's not a bad team for removal, but I do think Excadrill is going to be carrying a little bit with that. I personally would have preferred to see a little bit more bulk, but I also don't think you desperately need it. I think Togekiss works surprisingly well defensively in certain matchups, and then Amoonguss and Type Null can also sort of hold down the bulk. So overall, I think it's a really solid team with a lot that you got to watch out for.
Cool. I guess I'll just add on to top of that, since it's my team or whatever. Prepping week one, or I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that, but I've kind of looked at my matchup and stuff already a little bit, and I definitely see some flaws in the team that I won't really get into too much. But yeah, I can see why it's placed where it's placed, and there is definitely some threats like they were mentioning and stuff for sure. But I think this is a fair ranking for it for sure.
Yeah. So
Pretty much it.
there's nothing else to add. We can go ahead and move to number 7. The Alaskan Articuno is coached by VM Nunes. Nunes? I'm not really sure.
I think it's Nunes is probably good. Nunes.
Yeah, I like Nunes. Nunes is cool. Crypto, you want to take this one?
I can start it off for sure. VM Nunes has the team consisting of Latios, Zeraora, Nidoking, Corviknight, Blissey, Keldeo, Mega Slowbro, Grimmsnarl, Gourgeist, Garcol, and what's that thing's called? what's that?
Braixen.
Braxton. Yeah, I'm looking at the sprite page, so I'm not really. Yeah, so Braxton. I guess the immediate thing I noticed on this team personally that I think is just filthy, especially in this meta game we're in, is Blissey plus Mega Slowbro as a teleport core is about as good as you can get. Like, that is just disgusting first off, and it allows things like Nidoking, Latios, and Keldeo to come in and just break. And he has a really good in-game win con in a lot of games with Zeraora, just because its natural speed tier is ridiculous. I think the only thing that got drafted, I mean, Bash's freaking Suicide lead a Cellgor's faster technically, but like the only other viable mon that's faster than Zeraora I think is Mega Aerodactyl.
And what's a Suicide lead?
A Suicide lead is shit. You give the description. You're better at
Wait,
it.
whoa. Did you really forget about Deoxys speed, bro? What are you doing, bro?
You're right. Yeah, that non exists, doesn't it?
There's also one more. But...
Is there? Is it viable though?
Yes and no. Reggie Alecki was picked up.
Oh, okay. I mean,
yes,
you know
I would
what
say.
I'm trying to say. I mean, usually like the mons that get drafted that are viable would be like, or that are faster than Zeraora, or like Mega Aerodactyl and Deoxys, I guess. So I just forgot about Deoxys. Yeah, and Reggie, like, I guess is fair. But yeah, I think that this team just has amazing momentum with solid hazards, and overall, I want to mention that he has the screens Grimmsnarl is really cool too, just because I think it helps his setup potential with things like Latios and Zeraora in like late games, which is really cool. I'm not a huge fan of his last few picks. Carcol and yeah, I think you call it that. Not a huge fan of those guys, but his first 9 mons I really like, and I don't know. This is a team I would personally love to use. Like, I don't know, I just like it a lot. I'll let you guys take over from there.
Yeah, you want to go ahead with this one, Bash, or let me take it?
Sure. Okay. Another situation, like, why is there a Braixen on your team? There's no reason for it to be drafted. I'm pretty sure it must have been a meme, because like otherwise I don't see what's going on with that. But I will say, right, Blissey, Mega Slowbro, and then Corviknight combined, that is so disgusting. Like, I don't know how that was like allowed, or how he got away with that, but that's just gonna be a pain to break down. In combination with like some of the other like mons could be very bulky as well, right? Like Latios can actually still be somewhat bulky with it, and its typing is very good to fit that core as well. But him Hughes's team is just absolutely terrifying. I just like have a lot written down about that. Like, it's gonna be, not only is it just a pain to deal with its like defensive core, but looking into its offensive core of like Nidoking, Latios, Zeraora, and Keldeo, like that's gonna be difficult as well. And then, of course, Grimmsnarl setting up screens could be really nice for some setup. But yeah, the only thing I really want to just say about this is like, can you? I don't know. Like, there's got to be a better mon than Braixen in there. Like either like I can understand the Carcol pick, but like I just is there I'm sorry, there's gotta be something. There's gotta be something, okay? Like,
let's look through the draft board for him right now.
Slacking.
Is Slacking really only? Is it
Yeah.
slacking? What?
Yeah, it is, which I think is a throw. I think that we gotta fix that, but it is, which is why it's funny to me. Like, you know, side note, in Giratina, Splurge has Figuroth, and I'm like, what's slacking is right there. But no, go ahead though, Bash.
Yeah, I don't know why is slacking even at one point, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I don't
Right.
just like honestly, there could be something that could fill a better role than Breakson. I feel like Breakson is literally never coming to a match, to be honest. Like there is more likely that like I would say like the Arbok comes, right? There's yeah, I don't know. There's just more. It's more likely for Crypto to draft hyper offense than for Breakson to come to a match. Like that's yeah. That's why I put that.
Yeah, I really love this team. Honestly, I feel like there's huge offensive threats you gotta watch out for with like Latios, Zeraora, Keldeo, and Nidoking, and then there's just disgusting bulk in Corviknight, Mega Slowbro, and Blissey. And then you have like some solid miscellaneous support options through like Grimmsnarl, Gourgeist, and Karkle. And then of course, you know, Breakson's gonna carry the team. No, I do agree. Breakson feels a little bit weird. I'm not gonna harp on that too much because I think it's a really good team outside of that pick, and I think Bash has sort of already covered that. But yeah, I honestly like. Okay, so like a lot of people are very hesitant, I think, to draft Mega Slowbro because once it Mega Evolves, it loses its Regenerator, which can be a little bit annoying, I think. But like with such a good Wish Passer like Blissey, I really don't even think that's a concern, especially because like the fighting type moves that wanna, like the physical fighting type moves that want to pressure Blissey are gonna do absolutely nothing to Mega Slowbro, and so it's a really annoying core to break. You know, you gotta hit Mega Slowbro with special moves, but then Blissey's gonna chew that, and then vice versa, and it's just really, really annoying. I do think that there's a pretty noticeable special attack bias on this team, especially since Grimmsnarl is so often used as like a support mon rather than like the physical powerhouse it can be. Like it can do either role, and I feel like it might be necessary sometimes for it to step up as the physical presence that it can be, because without it, the job would probably land on Zeraora to do that, which, you know, in my experience is a very good physical option, but every now and then you definitely want to run special, and if you run special, then it's gonna be pretty much all special attackers sometimes, I think. But I think that this team has some of the best momentum this season, because there's really fast options like Flip Turn Keldeo, Volt Switch Zeraora, and then even like, I know it's kind of weird, but like Baton Pass Latios can work as like a mix-up option. But then there's also slow options like U-Turn Corviknight, Teleport Blissey, and Teleport Mega Slowbro. And so it's a very nice balance that I think this team finds with that. I'm slightly conflicted on the hazard control of the team because I feel like Blissey is going to want to run rocks more often than it might want to, since Nidoking doesn't always want to carry rocks on its set, and Karkle isn't always going to be a great bring. Spikes are nice, but that again comes down to how often the Karkle is brought. And while T-Spikes are cool, it's again like I don't know if Nidoking is going to want to run them. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation here with hazards. Default Corviknight is great. Default Latios not as much, but it is a fast option if you can afford to run it, which I don't think you'll be able to. But yeah, I think Corviknight's going to be in charge of all things hazard removal, unless, of course, the Karkle that I keep running back to shows up. So, I mean, like, it's not a bad draft for hazards at all, but I feel like a lot of responsibility is being put on Karkle, who realistically isn't going to be brought super often. At least that's my prediction. You could prove me wrong on that. But, I don't know, although I do have it noted that Zeraora is the only mon that breaks base 110 speed, I still think that the speed tiers from Latios down to Mega Slowbro scale really nicely, and I think that the defensive backbone might be able to just sort of handle that speed gap anyway, like it can handle whatever issues you run into because of it. So I really like this team, and I think that VM Nunes is going to do really well with this team for his Crash debut.
Yeah.
one more thing I want to say, by the way. And this is not just to VMUs, this is to everyone, right? So we're about like halfway through, and we forgot to mention this, but like this is basically based solely on the draft, right? This is not on skills or anything. So like, if you're up, yeah, but if you're upset about it, just prove us wrong in the season, right? Like, prove us wrong. Like, Jimmy's done it before. Like, just do it. Just do it. Like, I'm sure all these teams will work out fantastically. Just prove us wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're mad that you came in first, prove us wrong. You know, lose every match.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to be 16th, you can still be 16th. You know,
it's possible. We can arrange that.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add?
I guess the only thing I just don't really get is like, if you ever get so low that you don't know which way to go, I want to take a walk in my shoes. Never worry about a thing. Got the world on a string. But that's just part of it, because like otherwise it's like, because I've got the cure for all of my blues. Take a look at my enormous penis and my troubles start melting away. Bum. Take a look at my enormous penis and my happy times are here to stay. I gotta sing and dance, and I glance at my pants.
Am I having a fever dream? Like, what is this recording session?
I just thought that was the only other issue.
Thank you for sharing, Crypto.
I got you.
Oh man. All right, let's go ahead and move to number 6. We got Sun in the Ripple Tide Blastoise. And he's got a team of Mega Gallade, Rotom Wash, Ferrothorn, Sylveon, Galarian Slowking, Dracovish, Crocodile, Talonflame, Miltank, and Cryogonal. I think he's got a really threatening team here. I do think a little too much responsibility is being placed on Mega Gallade for damage output, personally. There is an entire Dracovish, which can obviously serve as like a crazy wall breaker. And also I think Crocodile pulls his weight, but I do think that things like Rotom Wash, Ferrothorn, Sylveon, Miltank, Cryogonal, and Talonflame often settle into more defensive and supportive roles, and that's not necessarily bad, because like if you use the team properly, I think that this team is going to set Mega Gallade up to be the kill leader of the season. But if not, you know, like if he doesn't use this team very well, I could see it struggling for any sort of momentum. And on that front, there's not a whole lot of momentum options. There's U-Turn Talonflame, Volt Switch Rotom, and Baton Pass Sylveon, and those are all really good forms of momentum, but overall it's a little bit less than I would like to see. But again, I think that all three of those do what they do pretty well. Maybe not always U-Turn Talonflame, but I think that most weeks it probably can't afford that. What I do like on this team is the Stealth Rockers. I think that this is really nice, and also one of the best spike stackers in Ferrothorn. Rotom's a really good defogger, and I think Talonflame is also a pretty solid one now that it has boots, as well as Rapid Spin Cryogonal with boots to help out. So I don't know, I'd say it's a little bit below average in terms of removal, but like at the same time, I think the spike stacking approach means that the opponent should be able to like do the defogging for you sometimes. That said, this is like another instance of a really good spike stacking squad with no ghost type for spin blocking. I think this might be like the 3rd or 4th time it's come up today. I think it's so interesting that like the teams that take this approach don't have that, but you know, I think that the other missing types paired with you know, your steel type sharing a type with grass poses a couple of issues. Like for starters, the lack of a rock type means that the only response to flying spam is Rotom, which might lead it to get worn down a little bit quicker than you might want it to. Maybe not, I don't know. But then on the other hand, the lack of a bug type means that you have no ground resists. But there are 3 immunities, which is definitely solid, so I mean, take that with a grain of salt. But I do think it's something to watch out for in the case of something like Zygarde, which can bypass those immunities. But overall, I think that this is a really, really powerful draft. I know I was a little bit negative about it, but like I said, I think that if he uses this team correctly, it's going to be setting up Mega Gallade to be an insane late game threat that is going to be sweeping a whole lot. And I think that it honestly could be like the overall kill leader this season.
No, I really like. Did you want to say anything else? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all I had.
Oh yeah, no, I think the support-wise, that's one of the main things I want to mention with this team. I think it synergizes really well to set up Mega Gallade like insanely well, and I don't think that's a far-fetched take at all to say it could be the kill leader. The Mon in general is super good, and just the momentum on this team is going to carry it, especially with the hazards like you mentioned. So I definitely really like that. I think that Mons like Dracovish, Talonflame, and Crocodile can definitely support it as far as like, you know, not letting it be the only offense around. And then defensively is just Sylveon, Wish Passing, and a Pharaoh Throw. I mean, this is stuff you've already mentioned, but like, I just think overall, I really like this team. I would disagree a little bit. I think he's actually got really solid removal with the Rotom, Talonflame, and Cryogonal. I think that Talonflame and Rotom in general are both just like really top tier defoggers, especially Rotom.
Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty solid. I said that it's like it could be better, but like overall, it's not terrible or anything.
I got you. Yeah, overall I like this team a lot. Mega Gallade, I've used it in one past seasons, and I think it was Kill Leader that season, and then I know it's been Kill Leader in another season that somebody had it. So this is definitely a team that I could see it being another Kill Leader on. So is there anything else you want to add to that, Bash?
No, I feel like you guys kind of went over everything, so I think I'm good about that, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot less stuff to point out as the teams get better.
They get better, yeah. There's less to roast.
Yeah. So with that, we're heading into the top 5.
Yes,
kicking it off with Lamaza and the Sassuolo Darkrai, which Bash, I'll let you start this time.
So Lamaza's team consists of Tapu Koko, Gliscor, Hydreigon, Buzzwole, Mega Blastoise, Salazzle, Decidueye, Chansey, Bronzong, Rampardos, Purugly, and Lileep. So I think this team's really good. The last 3 picks are very questionable to me, though. That's about it, though. I really love this team. Very good. Chansey and Bronzong core is disgusting. I think with passing into that, it's going to be a pain to deal with. Buzzwole is an absolute tank for any ground type that wants to try to pressure Tapu Koko kind of situation. Even and Gliscor is really good as well for that too. He just has a lot of ways to just counter like everything that has like a problem with. Like I don't know. It's such a struggle to like to switch into to break down. Like Mega Blastoise with Terrain Pulse with Tapu Koko is absolutely terrifying. There is no more switch-ins now because of that, and now you also have to deal with the shenanigans of Salazzle, right? Like Salazzle is something that can very easily actually beat a team by itself. With the sub-toxic set, it could actually be a team by itself. It's that disgusting. But yeah, the last 3 picks are a little bit questionable. I can see the Purugly maybe, but I think like the Lily should definitely be switched out. And then maybe get switched out the Rampardos for a better one, but I can see the Rampardos working as well. Something that could be abused in Trick Room, which would be really cool with the Bronzong. So yeah. One more thing I wanted to mention though is that like another thing that I know like Sketch might talk about, but the typings, right? He's only missing 1 type Ice. So
I'm taking my pants off, Bash.
Yeah, no. Give me a second. So, I'm gonna hand this off. I'm gonna hand this off to Sketch while I take out the butt plug.
What?
Oh god.
Oh man. Okay, so yeah, Lamaza's coming off of a really solid showing in Crash the last couple of seasons, winning Giratina in season 6 and then also securing first seed in Arceus last season. So I mean, this dude's kind of been on fire since he joined Crash, and I think that he's got a team that's going to set him up to continue this pretty impressive run he's been on. I think that this has really nice speed tiers that scale down very evenly from Tapu Koko at 130 all the way down to Lileep at 23. It's got 5 stealth rockers, and all of them, barring Rampardos, are pretty good at getting them up. There's great momentum on this team. Like, I think one of the best momentum teams with a U-turn on Tapu Koko, Gliscor, Hydreigon, Decidueye, and even Purugly, as well as Volt Switch Koko, Flip Turn Mega Blastoise, and Teleport Chansey. And I think that Mega Blastoise, Salazzle, and Decidueye forms what could be the best Fire Water Grass core. It's definitely one of the stronger ones. And then I think Coco Hydreigon and Bronzong is a very respectable Fairy Dragon Steel core too. Like Bash was sort of setting up, the only type that this team is missing is Ice, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't even feel all that necessary on this team, since I think Dragons, Grass, Ground, and Flying types all get checked really hard by this team. I'm not a huge fan of the Perugly, but I do think that Rampardos might have some nice matchups every now and then. Maybe not, but I mean, it's a crazy wall breaker if it has a good matchup, and it could be something that's difficult to deal with for some of the teams that maybe don't have a great response. And while I've never seen anybody draft Lileep, I will say that this thing is honestly disgustingly bulky with an Eviolite. Like, it's actually bulkier than Cradily, which is already like pretty decent bulk. And it does have, actually I haven't checked, but I imagine it also still gets Storm Drain. Let me double check that real quick. Gotta check my sources.
Yeah, it does.
It does? Okay, yeah. So I mean, that could be really nice for certain things, like maybe like Dracovish gives you a switch into that thing. So I don't know. I can definitely see the use here for that mon. It might not show up a lot, but when it does, I mean, like bulky with like Recover, Leech Seed, Stealth Rock, Toxic. There's a lot that I think that it can do in the right matchup. That said, you do already have Chansey, so people are going to be bringing Knockoff to sort of get rid of that thing's Eviolite, so I don't know. But I do think Chansey fills a really nice cleric role in this team. And I think that this team just overall has a great balance of bulk and offense to it. And there's really not a whole lot of flaws. I would prefer if it had a little bit more hazards than just Stealth Rock setting, but I mean, that's so nitpicky because, again, the Stealth Rock users are so good at setting them. It's literally just saying, like, I would like to see you have, like, spikes or T-spikes or something. But yeah, I think you have great defoggers in Gliscor, Coco, Hydreigon, and Decidueye, as well as Rapid Spin, Mega Blastoise. Like, this is honestly probably the best hazard removal in the league this season. So I definitely think that this team is going to do really well.
Yeah, no, I think this team's solid. I think I ranked it a little bit lower than you guys, but you guys make some great points with it. I guess I'd say, like, early game, this team's pretty knockoff susceptible, with Gliscor and Chansey being two of the main walls. If you don't have your Toxic Orb activated yet, and that's a big problem. And obviously, a Violet's, what holds Chansey up. And he's got, I guess, only one other Violet user in Lileep, which, I mean, I don't really know what the thing does, to be honest. I guess it's kind of just a fat piece of shit that sits there in front of everything. I don't really know. I don't know. I think he's got some cool components with, like, I think Tricker and Bronzong into Rampardos is something really cool. I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but I think that's definitely something that could be decent here. Great breaking support with Mega Blastoise, Hydreigon, and then Coco is just a great mon. Has a lot of great momentum on this team overall. I like it a lot. I would say that. Oh yeah, that's about all I got to say about it. Honestly, I like it.
All right. Ash, you already spoke on the team, right?
Yeah.
All right, then yeah, I think we're good to move on. So we have another tie up next. We have a tie for third place. So we can start with Bloodcrawler, coach of the Leuven Larvatars. And
Yes.
yeah, I'll take this one because I do think out of the three of us, I had it ranked the highest. So it has Mega Mawile, Landorus Therian, Terrakion, Raikou, Zarude, Slowking, Chandelure, Cloyster, Rabombi, and Dragalge. I think that this is a really impressive team that succeeds in a lot of areas. The only missing type is Normal, which doesn't really feel all that required with a mon like Zarude to sort of sponge the ghost hits for the team. And while my first impression of this team was that I thought it looked physically biased, the more I looked at it, I mean, like, I thought that because there's like Mega Mawile, Landorus Therian, and Terrakion that sort of stick out. But the more I looked at it, I think Chandelure and Dragalge both offer really solid special wall breaking potential, with Raikou and even Rabombi acting as potential special sweepers. I think that this ended up being a lot more balanced than I originally thought it was. There's a solid Volt Turn core at work between Landorus Therian, Raikou, and Zarude, with Regenerator, Teleport, Slowking doing its thing, and even Flip Turn Dragalge can help regain momentum if he loses it. while Mawile and Terrakion would prefer not to run Stealth Rocks, they definitely could have it as a mix-up option. And I think that Landorus is a good enough Stealth Rocker that I really can't even be too upset that like he doesn't have great backups on that. I think that Cloyster adding spikes and toxic spikes to the team with a second T-Spike setter in Dragality is really solid. Then you got webs from Rabombi, which adds the perfect variety of hazards. I don't think he's missing any hazards on this team. And I gotta say, like, I see a lot of people sometimes just choose to pick up sticky webs for the sake of having them without the right team to actually take advantage of them properly. But that's definitely not the case with this squad, because Mega Mawile, Terrakion, Landorus, and even Chandelure underwebs are all monstrous and can just win the game against a team that doesn't have great removal. But I will say that the removal on this team is a slight problem. Defog is there on Landorus and Rabombi with Cloyster for rapid spinning, and that's definitely not bad, but I could see running into an issue of not knowing what certain mons want to do each week. Like, Lando is going to have to decide between running rocks or defog. They definitely can run both. Like, it's not one or the other type of thing, but if it doesn't have rocks, then you gotta try to force it onto like a Scarf Terrakion maybe, or like then there's Cloyster, and it's like, do I run rapid spin, spikes, toxic spikes, all of the above, none of the above? Like, in some ways I think that this speaks to the versatility of this draft, but what I'm getting at is that I think that the hazard setters and removal options might leave you feeling a little bit limited in prepping situations. And that doesn't mean that the final outcome of what you build will be bad, because I think that the team is good enough that whatever you end up with should be able to get the job done. But yeah, I wish that there was a little bit more clerical support to speak of, because there's really only Aromatherapy Rabombi, which I don't think you're ever going to bring unless jungle healing works like Heal Bell, which I don't think it does, but I think it could. It doesn't.
It's just the mon. It's just itself.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, let's say, because it says it's ally, and I guess that's like for double battles. But yeah. But yeah, I think that the bulky pivots this team has may make that unnecessary anyway in the grand scheme of things. It might make the clerical support less necessary. But yeah, I think that this is one of my personal favorite drafts of the season.
Do you want to go Crypto, or do you want me to go next?
I didn't really have anything to say off the top of my head. I just thought it was, I don't know why, for some reason I thought it was cool that like Landorus, Raikou, and Terrakion all have like the same stance. I don't know why I mentioned that, but like, yeah. I thought it was cool. Go ahead, Bash. Go ahead. Hurry up and change the subject.
Oh my god. So, I'm gonna say, like, the things that I had like issue with is very based around the hazard control, which Sketch already brought into, but like, I feel like that, first of all, the three rockers, right? Three stealth rockers are Mega Mawile, Landorus, Tyrion, and Terrakion, right? But like, I prefer, personally, I don't think Mega Mawile wants to run rocks, and Terrakion, if it's set up, it's not going to run rocks either. It's usually only like, it's going to be, I think it, like, his team's going to be put into a situation where if he wants to bring rocks, at least, it's going to be forced a lot of times into Lando, which kind of nerfs Lando's capabilities in this game. And that also builds into the removal, right? Because Rabombi and Cloyster are his, and Lando T are his only removal options, and Rabombi does not want to be your remover. Like, it's not that good of a remover, to be honest. It's fast, but it's not that good of a remover. And Cloyster, like, it wants to do so many different things, and right, like, if it's a defensive set, like, that would be good with the rapid spin, but like, I feel like a lot of the situations is going to be pressured onto Landorus to fill like a lot of this hazard like setting and removing role, which is going to put a struggle onto like because like on paper it looks amazing, right? Like his team, but like looking into it more in depth, I feel like that Landorus T is going to not do as well as at least people hope it would, because it's going to be forced into these roles, like I mentioned in Mega Osh, not as bad as Mega Osh. Mega Osh has a bigger situation with the Mew, but I feel like Landorus is going to be put into a role where it doesn't want to, like, that wants to do like say a setup or like a scarf, but it's going to be in a situation where it's going to have to be more focused on hazard control. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. For sure. Like, I definitely think that's like the main drawback to that team is just figuring out how to sort of navigate the hazard removal arena, and even like hazard setting might be a little bit tricky to navigate too. But I don't know. I don't think it's like an auto lose kind of issue, but I definitely see what you mean with that. And then of course we got Crypto's solid observation that Lando, Terrakion, and Raikou have the same stance. So definitely be sure to keep that in mind when you're prepping.
It brings the intimidation factor, and especially if you line them up all together whenever you like get to team preview, it's definitely something you gotta keep in mind.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, oh man, I'm facing an absolute unit of a team right now.
I did want to say one more thing. Like, I think it's cool this team. Like, at least from my league experience, I feel like there's mons like Zarude, Dragalge, Chandelure, and Cloyster especially are mons you like. At least in my experience, are mons you don't see a whole lot. So I mean, I can't wait to see like what he's gonna do with them. Like, altogether, I think it's just like cool.
Yeah, it's a very
squad
unique looking team, I think.
Yeah. Sure.
So
Dragalge has flip turn, right?
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay.
So yeah, we can go ahead and move to the other team that we have tied at third currently, that being Nala and the East Coast Excadrill. And go ahead and let I guess Crypto could take this one.
Yeah, I got this. Nala's got the team consistent of Jirachi, Infernape, Mandibuzz, Vaporeon, Mega Venusaur, Donphan, Regieleki, Galarian Darmanitan, Whimsicott, Mimikyu, and Lunatone. I think this is something I was mentioning in sketch like as earlier in just when we were talking about the teams a little bit, as I think for some reason this just looks like a team you'd see from like the UCL back in the day with like Shady Penguin and like A-Drive and them playing in the day. Obviously like minus the Regieleki and Darmanitan and stuff, but like the basic stuff like Vaporeon, Mega Venusaur, Infernape, it just looks like one of those teams. I mean, I may just be completely off my rocker by saying this.
No,
but...
I definitely see what you mean too. It's a very like old school,
yeah,
kind of
old
like Oras
school
vibes.
Well,
Yeah.
Did you forget Mimikyu as well?
I guess even Mimikyu Donphan a little bit. Maybe not Mimikyu, but Donphan too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It looks like this team kind of reminds me of Bash's team, but just better. In the fact that I think it's a really good balanced team, and it can like all the mons function really well in defensive and offensive roles, and they can do that really well. You know, obviously the defensive backbone of Vaporeon, Mega Venusaur, Jirachi, Mandibuzz is really, really cool. And he's got cool support with Whimsicott and Donphan for spin support. And then offensively, obviously, he's got, I would say, outside of Darmanitan, his breaking presence is not the best. But I mean, I guess I could be undervaluing Donphan and Infernape a little bit. So that's not bad. And then Regieleki in certain games, of course. Removal-wise, he's got things like Mandibuzz, Donphan, and then does... anything else get? Oh, Whim's got Prankster Defog, so that's pretty solid. And then he's got a spin blocker on there with
He's also got a Rapid Spin Regieleki.
Rapid Spin Regieleki, that is a good, and oh yeah, and Donphan, I already mentioned that. And then spin blocker and Mimikyu, which is really cool. He's got some decent priority in there with Shadow Sneak, Mimikyu, Ice Shard, Donphan, and Mach Punch, Vacuum Wave, and Infernape. And then obviously, like I mentioned, Prankster Whimsicott, which could be a cool technique in some of his games if he wants to like try to pull off like Prankster Mementos into set up Infernape, or maybe even like a Belly Drum Darmanitan in certain games, because that could definitely be good, or even Mimikyu. Like he's got some options for sure. I like the slow momentum he has on this team. With Mandibuzz can be kind of fast, but it also can be slow in some cases, and then Vaporeon with slow momentum. I think it's really cool overall. It could be one of those teams that like drags out the game a bit and makes it painful for your opponent. And I don't know. I like the team. I think it's really nice and balanced. Somebody want to take over?
Yeah, I can go. So I was really concerned for this draft early in the draft, like in the actual like drafting process, because I didn't really like the first wheel being used on Jirachi and Infernape, because while they're both very good at what they do, I felt like the team was lacking in power compared to the teams that went for more powerful options, like in the 17, 18, 19 point range. And so it was sort of like a similar issue like what I had with Bash's team. And for a while, this sort of continued to be the case because Nala focused on filling out a bulk core through the likes of like Mandibuzz, Vaporeon, Mega Venusaur, and Donphan instead of correcting the power difference compared to the other drafts. But then I really feel like Nala got bailed out by being able to get 8th round Galarian Darmanitan, I think G-Darm is a very polarizing Pokemon, which is probably why it wasn't drafted yet. But like, I honestly do think that it can compete with some of the 17 pointers, especially in terms of like damage output. But obviously people don't like it because it's very limited and it's sort of forced into just one role, that being wall breaking. But like in a matchup with decent answers to it, it can become very easy to feel like you sort of just wasted your early round pick with Galarian Darmanitan. But as a late round pickup that was marked down to 15 points this season, I think that this month shifted the direction of the draft for Nala, and I do think that the team is overall still slightly behind some others in terms of power, but I think that this gap was bridged a ton by the decision to pick up Galarian Darm, and I honestly do kind of like the way that the team ended up being filled out. I think that it's simple but flawed in some areas, but not bad by any means. The team is missing Normal, Bug, and Dragon, but I also feel like this team functions perfectly fine without those types. I think it would be tough in certain matchups, you know, without those types, and it will definitely make the responses to certain types a little bit predictable, but I don't think that's the end of the world either. The team has 3 great Stealth Rockers, and then it also has a Lunatone. There's 2 great Defoggers and 2 pretty solid Rapid Spinners, because I mean, like, I know Regieleki doesn't immediately come to mind, but it being the fastest Pokemon in the game means that you're at least pretty much guaranteed to get the hazards removed if you really need them to. And also its lack of a move pool kind of means that you can always run it, so you always have like the option to get rid of those hazards. I will say that the biggest gap in speed tiers is on this draft, going from Regieleki at 200 to Whimsicott at 116, but I also feel like there was bound to be a pretty steep drop with Regieleki on the team. That said, I don't really like that Whimsicott is the only other one that breaks base 110 here, especially given how easy it is to shut down Regieleki, but I think that that's more than made up for by like the plethora of momentum options with U-turn on Jirachi, Galarian Darm, Infernape, Mandibuzz, and Whimsicott, with Volt Switch, Regieleki, and Flip Turn Vaporeon, or Baton Pass if you'd rather run that. Especially since all of these mons I think would realistically carry those moves week to week. Like, it's not like there's any kind of like weird like niche momentum option. I think that these are all going to be brought pretty regularly, which is really nice. And this serves to sort of get Galarian Darm back onto the field to claim those kills, and I think that's really important for the overall structure to this team. And so, you know, there's 2 really great Wish Passers on this team in Jirachi and Vaporeon that give all the clerical support I think this team could ask for. And so while there's a few issues with the team, I think overall it has the potential to really succeed.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to say is that the defensive like core, if you look at it like very closely, like this team is going to be very, very frustrating to take down. Like, if you look at the combination, right, of Jirachi, Mega Venus, so Mandibuzz, Vaporeon, and Donphan, that with the 2 mods of Wish support, right, and just the absolute bulk in that team, as well as being able to taunt and roar and like whirlwind things out, right, it's going to be a pain to take down, right? It's going to be, there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to take down that core that easily. It's going to take a while, and I think that's going to be very good for him in the late game. For something like, say like a Scarf G-Darm is going to be like come in late game and just clean up at the end, or like Scarf Jirachi, like even like if you don't run the defensive Jirachi, you still could run down the Scarf Jirachi, just beat down the remaining of his team. Because a lot of things are going to be worn down very heavily by the defensive core that he has. So,
yeah. All right. I guess if we're all set, then we can go ahead and move to second.
Wait, which trash player is next? I don't even remember.
No, we got a good one. We got a good one up next. Don't worry.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm positive. Yeah. So up next, we got yours truly, Sketch AV, coach of the Winston Weaviles. Feel me.
Yes.
And yeah,
Oh,
I got a team of.
Oh wait, it's just my bubbling. Alright, go ahead.
We got Garchomp, Mega Lopunny, Scizor, Thunderous Therian, Suicune, Nihilego, Uxie, Alolan Ninetales, Dhelmise, Flareon, and Vullaby. And I will I'll let you guys talk about it first.
I should take the cake with this one, buddy. First, buddy.
Okay, so just for my voice sketch, I'm gonna be a little bit tougher, just so he understands the thought process, right?
Yeah, go for it.
So, your Ghost Switch-ins, right? Your Ghost Switch-ins are Mega Lopunny and Vullaby. And Mega Lopunny is not really a switch-in. Mega Lopunny is not a switch-in. I'm sorry. It will never be a switch-in. And Vullaby, like, it could be a good switch-in, but how often is it coming? / it's gonna be taking rocks chipped down. It's gonna be chipped down quick, so it's gonna have to roost. It's gonna be a very passive ghost check. So it's gonna be very. I think that's something I wanted to keep in mind for this. Was like the first big thing, and the second thing is right. Uxie is gonna. I think Uxie, like, without Flareon being there, which by the way, I love the pick that you did, Flareon, because it actually does fill in some like really necessary things for your team.
It was inspired by you, buddy.
Thank you. So yeah, I think wish support from Flareon is the reason. Like I think it's actually very important to this team. Like imagine Wish passing into Nihilego or Uxie, right? Especially Uxie, right? Because Uxie's going to be taking an extra chip damage from Hail, which is something I was going to like give you a little bit of a tough time with, because Hail is kind of annoying for some of your mons with chip. But it was actually worse with the team you had originally before that, because the Cosmo doesn't want to run Moonlight. But that's besides the point. I think like getting chip damage on some of the stuff is going to be a little bit annoying. But I think Flareon being a wish passer for you is going to be very, very key, I think. And I honestly think Flareon's going to be the underrated one. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I would seriously look at trying to get a better Ghost Switch in. But yeah, that's my thoughts to it.
Oh, I think this is an incredibly threatening team under Veil. I definitely like the pickups with Scizor and Garchomp. Like, they complement each other very well, and like it's nice because they're both really good offensive mons, but they can complement each other defensively really well. As far as Garchomp not caring about Scissor's fire weakness, and Scizor not caring about Garchomp's ice weakness, so they can pivot into each other really well. And they're also very solid offensive mons, so it's not like you lose much by like going into them and then you lose a whole lot of momentum or anything. You kind of just threaten your opponent immediately, which is really nice. And then you obviously have Suicune on top of that, which is really nice because it doesn't give a shit about ice or fire, which is really cool, and that's just a really nice bulky water to have on the team in general. So I like this energy there for sure. I think what do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 mons weak to rocks, so I mean that's not like a big deal or anything. I don't know, I'm particular about that, but yeah, it's not really a huge deal or anything. I do like Mega Lopunny on this team a lot. I think it's really good with hazards if you can set it up correctly, because it's just an incredibly good cleaner with how fast it is and fake out pressure and quick attack and whatnot. That's another good thing. Like, this team just has solid priority with decent priority with Lopunny, Scizor, and then I guess Ice Shard Ninetales can be like a certain case scenario if you wanted to bring that, which is nice. But this team also, like, out of all the teams, has like probably the most viable setup, I would say. With the Garchomp, Scizor, Thunderous, you could even throw on Power Punch, Lopunny, yeah, Nasty Plot, Ninetales, Calm on Suicune, Meteor Beam, Lego, Calm on Uxie, and the list goes on. You could even run Nasty Plot, Vullaby if you wanted to.
Yo.
It's an option for sure. I would say, like Bash was mentioning, like the ghost weakness is definitely a thing. There's not too many strong ghost types outside of like Dragapult, and then I guess like what right?
Was Spectrier picked up? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, yeah, that's one for sure.
But those are just the matchups. Vullaby might just have to show its face and show its dominance. Like, I think that's definitely it's an underrated mon for sure. Like, I don't think it's bad by any means. I think it's a really good. What was it? 3 points? That's
yes.
Oh, okay.
That's solid for sure.
Yeah.
And no, you've got some solid removal on the team. You've got 3 Defoggers in Thunderous, Vullaby, and the Scizor, as well as Rapid Spin on Dhelmise. So I like that a lot. I don't know. I don't love the defensive backbone between the team with like Suicune. I think I mentioned it, like Suicune, Garchomp, Scizor is really good synergy together, and I guess you have Dhelmise, Volibee, and then Yuxi. So I mean, there's a lot of good defensive mons. I think in a way it kind of lacks reliable recovery, but I think it makes up for it with Veil really well. So I think that you can play this team offensively really, really nicely, and I like a lot of the components it has to it. That's what I would say for the most part.
Here's where you're wrong, Crypto, though, because Suicune is reliable recovery. Like, it is literally the
rest is just reliable enough.
It is. Unless you want to go for a little attack with the Mimic, but that's besides the point. Yeah, but yeah, I just want to add in that, like, Sketch's team is actually terrifying. Coming from a person that had a mock against it, it is a pain to deal with, even with like some of the best, like you would think the best defensive bonds to check these threats. It's not that easy. It's not. It's gonna. I think it'll be. He might make a good run. We'll see how he handles it. But of course, there's one more thing I wanted to add is that, like, it's more about like the coach than the team, though, because I know we said it,
which is what takes it to the next level. Like, that's what makes it especially good.
I would say that this team, the coach is very like TM06 kind of situation.
Oh, like, yeah. Okay, I'll agree with that. You're right. Yeah. Some people say that. Yeah. I think that I'm very happy with how my draft turned out. I was very down about it during the draft because I got sniped so ridiculously many times. And like, these guys can definitely attest to that. Like, every time I was like, okay, I know what I'm getting next, it would literally just be the next thing drafted. And so I was very down about this team because it was like everything I had was like a backup of a backup of a backup. And I was just like, I'm not getting to use anything that I really want to. But as it started to sort of fill out, I really like the way it came together. I think that this is one of the more well-rounded drafts. If I can gas myself up really quickly. And like with the criteria that I was sort of evaluating drafts on, which will obviously be sort of biased towards my team, because I'm obviously going to draft stuff that I think is a component of a good draft. But I think that it performed pretty well on my criteria. You know, everybody put your clothes back on and prepare to rip them off. But this is the only team this season that has all 18 types. So go ahead and, do with that what you will.
All right, it's all off.
Everything's off, boys. All right, cool.
Oh no.
And while I don't think that like having 18 types automatically makes a team good, I do think that it means theoretically, not guaranteed, but theoretically, it means that the team will have an answer to most threats that it's faced with, or most typings rather. So I think in that sense, it's like there are multiple responses to every type in the game, and I think that that's pretty solid. Even if those responses are Lopunny and Volibee for a ghost switching. But yeah, I mean, I think that Suicune covers Garchomp's ice weakness and Scizor's fire weakness really well, and I think that's really good synergy. I think that there's insane wall breaking on the physical side with Garchomp and Mega Lopunny, but then also on the special side with Thundurus and Nihilego. And I think that there's a really strong defensive backbone to the team with, the main defensive mons and like defensive pivots are like Suicune and Yuxi, which both lack reliable recovery. But then there are options like bulky Scizor, Dhelmise, and Volibee, which definitely do have that reliable recovery, and then even Flareon with the Wish Passing. I think Nihilego is a great special defense pivot too. And then yeah, there's a lot of U-turners, both fast and slow, with like Mega Lopunny, Scizor, Thundurus, Yuxi, and even Volibee, which makes me think that this team isn't going to struggle a ton to maintain the pacing of the battle. As Crypto already mentioned, there's an insane amount of setup here that all benefit from Ninetales' Aurora Veil. And then yeah, it's just I think that the main drawback is actually something that you guys didn't mention yet, which is the speed tiers, which I don't think are awful, but I do think it's a little bit of a problem that Mega Lopunny is the only thing that surpasses base 110 speed. I think that's a little bit less than ideal. And then as some sort of like nitpicky criticisms of my team, I would personally like to see a Dragon Dancer, but I do think that Scale Shot SD Garchomp can sort of take on that role. I do think that the clerical support could be stronger, but I mean, Wish Flareon definitely has a role to play here, and even Healing Wish Lopunny could be an interesting tech option 1 week. But yeah, I don't think either of those are terrible options. They could be stronger though, but I don't know. I think that every mon has a very clear role to play, and I do think that all of them are mons that can be brought multiple times throughout the season. So I'm pretty satisfied with my team.
Hell yes, and it's very colorful.
Yes, it is very colorful. That is true.
Yes.
Very blue too. Very blue.
Yeah, it is very blue. There's a lot of blue in there. There's some reds, some yellow.
Indeed.
Yeah, a couple of greens.
There's even a fat bird at the bottom, you know.
Yeah, it's true. There is a bird.
So I guess that leads us into our last number 1 spot, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's go over Splurge's team right now, like real quick.
Splurge.
All right, Splurge made the honorable mentions list. So you already know.
Yeah, at first place we have Smat and the Modena Septiles, and I don't know if one of you guys want to start off with that.
Just go ahead, Bubby.
Whoa. Let me pull up the team. Okay. So I have Mega Scizor, Tapu Fini, Victini, Thundurus, Incarnate, Vectier, Hippowdon, Roserade, Porygon 2, Pangoro, and Greydilly. Some thoughts I want to put on the team. I personally love this team, right? Like it fills a lot of different things, and I know it's like sketched quite a lot too, which is unfortunate. But
yeah, it definitely did.
Yeah, I will say the one. Yeah, this. But like, okay, my one thing I had for like what I wanted to like add, I guess, like to the team, but I think it needs to be like switched around or something like that, is to get like a ground resist, which, to be honest, like Hippowdon is basically a ground resist, but like. I would still think that maybe a better, like just a ground resist in general, like instead of maybe Creedilly or something like that. And I guess maybe another Stealth Rocker could be nice, but I think Hippowdon's gonna just like bring Stealth Rocks anyway, most games anyway, because it's just such a reliable Stealth Rocker. So, I love this team. Honestly, there's it has a lot of good momentum. It looks like a lot of the mons are like bashed. I guess mons, per se. Like you got like the Bikini, I personally love using P2 as well.
So good. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just because of the Victini, let's be honest.
No, I use Roserade a lot too, to be honest, actually. But
you're pretty bad at that mon. That's true.
Whoa! Okay. So I think it has really good speed tiers, good setup, very bulky team, and has really, I think. For the most part, I guess maybe the Stealth Walkers could be a slight issue, but for the most part, I think it has some pretty good hazard control in general, and just the cores are just really good on the team. Yeah, that's It just, from my opinion, I put this team in first, and I think it kind of deserves it. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's definitely a fair point. I think defensively, this team might have the best defensive core. I mean, any defensive core could definitely use a Wish Passer, but I think Mega Scizor, Hippowdon, P2, Fini, you could throw in like Roserade in there too. I think it's just a really, really solid defensive core, and he's definitely got the capability to play long game with this team. He's got some nice stall breakers as well with like Thundurus and Fini in there, which is really cool, like taunt stall breakers, I guess, and then really good wall breakers as far as Victini and Pangoro go. That definitely can set up a nice end game for things like, I guess, Spectre and even like SD Scizor and stuff, which is really cool. The one flaw I would say is like, this is just preference, but I personally just think 2 Stealth Rockers is just not that good personally, especially when Creedilly's one of them. So I know Hippowdon's gonna be pressured a lot there, which is definitely something that he might struggle with a little bit. And I think a team like this definitely appreciates hazards. A team like this is kind of something. What am I trying to say? It enjoys playing the long game, and I think hazards are definitely really important for those types of teams. So that might be one of his downfalls, but maybe he'll prove me wrong throughout the season. And then other than that, like, I don't know. There's not too much bad I have to say about it, really. Yeah, I guess Creedilly. I kind of agree with Bash. If we could trade Creedilly for something else, maybe that'd be pretty good. But that's about all I got to say.
Yeah. And Crypto also on his list had you at first place. I was kind of the odd one out there because I definitely still had you high. I had you at third place.
Who
But
did in first place? Who did first place?
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We will show everybody's list after this. But no, I still think that this is a really, really good team. I've used Mega Scizor and Tapu Fini in a previous season, so I know like just how devastating that pair can be. They complement each other really, really well defensively, and then like I don't know, they're just also like really solid offensive threats. I think people sleep on like Tapu Fini's offensive capabilities because obviously it's like a wall, but that thing can hit really hard if you choose to take it that route, and especially now that it has like Draining Kiss, it has like some pretty insanely viable setup potential. And then I don't know, like this relatively defense-oriented pairing is backed with really strong offensive threats in Victini, Thundurus, Spectrier, and Pangoro, all of which can be really, really terrifying to switch in on. But then there's also like Hippowdon, Cradily, and Porygon 2 for bulk, with spikes and toxic spikes being added into the mix from Roserade. And I think that spike stacking is complemented really well by Defiant Thundurus, which will activate if somebody tries to defog. And we finally have a team that goes for spike stacking and has a spin blocker with Spectrier. And I think that this makes for a really fantastic balanced team. The speed tiers scale really well, and I think they're up there among the best in the league. But, you know, I do think that there's some drawbacks. It is missing the ice typing as well as the dragon typing, which means that Tapu Fini is going to be very crucial as a dragon response most weeks. And I mean, it's very capable of doing that. And I also have to point out that like Fini's Misty Terrain is going to nerf the dragon type, which is why like I'm not like docking too many points there, because I don't think that this is like a super dragon weak team or anything, but like more so that offensively handling them could prove to be annoying sometimes. I think that Mega Scizor and Tapu Fini are both amazing defoggers. You know, neither of them want to run it every single week, but it's going to be rare where you get a matchup where both of them can't run it. And even if that does happen, Thundurus has Prankster defog, which could make him a pretty solid option too if you like really need the removal, but Scizor and Fini can't run it. They already sort of pointed it out, but I would have liked to see another Stealth Rocker too, especially just because I don't think Cradily shows up a ton this season. So one more would have been nice here. There's also not a lot to write home about in terms of clerical support outside of Aromatherapy, Roserade, but again, Misty Terrain is a really good stand-in for that kind of support, since, you know, you can't really get statused while it's up. And while Wish Pass would obviously be nice, I think every single mon on the team can stand on their own 2 feet. So I don't think it's a requirement, it just would have been a solid addition. But overall, I think that this is a really solid team, and even the flaws that I mentioned aren't going to hold it back a whole lot. So I think that this team is going to do really well.
Yeah. I guess that's pretty much the conclusion. Was there anything else you guys wanted to like talk about in particular? About this class?
I would say at this point of the video, if I do my job properly in editing, you should see all of our personal lists on the screen. You can see how toxic I am for putting myself in first for the second season in a row. I know I'm canceled, but yeah.
Wow. I'll shake my head. If you can see me right now, I'm visibly shaking my head right now.
If you could see Bash right now, he's visibly naked right now. So.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Imagine that, kids. Please don't imagine that. Eyesight. They'll do it.
Well, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I know it's been a very lengthy video. I don't know if you chose to watch the whole thing or not, but if you did, you're definitely goated for that. We're going to be trying to do PRs every other week. So maybe like post week 2, we'll have an update to these lists and try to sort of organize our thoughts throughout the season. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts.
No, just like, you know, stay warm, guys. a Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And if you don't celebrate that, what's the other one? Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. Shout out to Kwanzaa too.
Yes, El Kwanzaa, everybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Poodles is the dot goat. Just throwing it out there.
Yo, facts.
You
Yeah.
know. Splurge is the British goat. Just thrown out there. And Volume is Volume goat.
Yo, that's so true though, man. Oh my god.
But yeah. Just had to shout out our other mods real quick. Ducksuck, hopefully you're still alive, man. I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, Ducksuck, we missed you, bro. Come home.
Seriously.
If
Yeah,
you're out
seriously.
there hearing this, please just come home. We're all very concerned.
We've got dinner ready on the table for you still. Don't worry.
He went to go get milk. He never.
All right, closing thoughts, Bash.
Yeah. Keep it breezy.
Ew.
Also go check out my YouTube and my Twitch. Links are in the description. You feel me? For some more fire content.
Also, make sure to check out Crypto Vibes on YouTube. Great content over there.
Yo,
we'll be uploading soon enough.
All right, y'all. With that, it has been me, Sketch AV. Gonna get up out. Peace.
Peace.